A channel lights the calm relay. Stories unfold in the softest sound. In the night watch, we're tightly bound. A cozy vibe whispers through the stream, like drifting slow inside a dream. Conversations linger late and free. The night watch is the place to be. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home. A laugh, a thought, a quiet tale. The night breathes slow, we set our sail. Through every chat and every laugh we weave a stream, a timeless path. Stay while the stars are bright, each word a spark that paints the night. Connection deep, it soars and sings. In this space, the heart takes wings. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Night Watch. Hope everybody's having a good one. We had a little bit cooler weather today. It wasn't so nice to be out, but it's supposed to bounce back tomorrow. It's been nice here. Hope it's been nice where you're at. Unfortunately, not everybody. Was just talking with Scott Duke. They lost some power today. They had some storms down there in Texas blow through. He was trying to join, but he said he's having some internet problems, which is understandable if you got lines down here and there and everything, right? Everything's okay, though. He says everybody's all right, so that's the important part. And, yeah, hey, everybody joining. We got Doubting Thomas, Tilting Windmill, Katie's here, and a bunch of folks, the numbers. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody. So I've been doing the Night Watch, new show in the evenings, because some of the folks have mentioned before, and they don't catch us during the day for time zones and work and all these different things. So I'm on in the evenings now. So want some soothing tones. You can hear, are we handing out captive desk coins or desk dollars for first comments? Yeah, I should do that. I should get some coins going. Good to see you, Leo. Hope you're having a good one. We do have memberships. You can become a desk drawer or a desk file. And along with that comes all kinds of great emojis. And if you are a member, feel free to drop emojis in the chat. I love the emojis. And yeah, speaking of Leo, looks like you got a membership, so feel free to drop emoji. And windmill, drop them in there. There we go. All right, love it. And I just added the latest emoji is answers in atheism on toast, because Mike's one of my oldest YouTube friends, and we've done a lot of stuff together and helped me out a lot. And so we immortalized Mike in toast, and kind of goes with the theme of everything, you know, atheism, answers, toast, Jesus on toast. The answers must be in the toast, right? So enjoy the toast emoji too. And yeah, so speaking of, yeah, I did let the normal crew know that we were on, but again, it's having some issues, and sometimes they're not available in the evenings, but that's okay, because I'm here. And hey Jester, how you doing? So I thought I'd start off the evening with getting right to the point and letting us know exactly where we stand here. Let me cue this up. Still got to figure out how to not have autoplay on. There's got to be a way to do it, but I'm going to struggle through. Let's get the share up on here. All right, there we go. I think I'm good to go. Let me know if there's any problem hearing it. I think it's all set up right. Kind of small, isn't it? Yeah, that's a little better. All right, here we roll. This is a quick one, so pay attention. I hope you have your notes ready.
Hey, Lily J.
Hi.
Is it a problem I don't believe in God?
Well, not to me. I'm not the one with the one-way ticket to hell.
Oh. Everything's working? All right, thank you. Well, there you go, folks. Either believe in God or you're going to hell, if you haven't heard that already. All right, public service message. I don't know what else to say. Of course, if you don't believe in God, you know, you don't believe in the hell part thing either. You know, it kind of goes along with it. But, you know, nice try, Lily J. There's Scott's trying to get in.
Hey there. Hello to everybody for as long as I'm able to stay in.
It's good to see you, Scott. Glad everybody's okay down there.
Yeah, it didn't even really raise an eyebrow. It was, I think the tornado warning for this area was just something they saw on the radar without a confirmation. So they just raised a warning, but I don't think it really got anywhere near my location.
Yeah, it's always good to hear. Of course, you know, we always appreciate the warnings and everything. We were talking about Ryan Hall and the other independents that go on and warn people and tell people, you know, in these areas to take cover and all these good things that they do. And it pays off because people listen and they heed the warnings. And when you have storms blow through, but everybody seems to make it through, that's the important part. and Stop the Stupidity. Stopping through. Hello, Stop the Stupidity. Dropping gift memberships to the channel. Stop the Stupidity is a great supporter of the channel. Thank you very much.
You've got a question from Aunt Jer about something about turning off settings for autoplay or something.
But it doesn't work on my playlist, though. Let me drop this out here. Because it zoomed everything. I need to zoom this thing back out, otherwise I can't read. The chat, all right. Yeah, Stop the Stupidity gifted 5 memberships. That goes out to Katie, Michael, Relic, Mattman, and Hillary's emails. Thank you very much, Stop the Stupidity. And hello, Old Joe. Good to see you. And Aunt Jer. Yeah, I've been looking all over for settings, Jer. But when you have a playlist, the only thing I can find is it either plays it or it's a shuffle. So I have to see if there's a settings for playlist, above that. But I just muddle through. It's not a big deal. It'd be nice if I could stop it though from just jumping to the next one.
Yeah, it's one of those annoyances where you have an idea of the way you want things, but the software won't accommodate it. And it seems intuitive to you. And it probably is intuitive to a lot of people, just not to the developers for Google or YouTube or whomever.
Yeah, well, Al Trucker's here. Good to see you, Al. Al's dropping Hellutations. Yeah, and generally, the shorts and everything are a pain, but it's something about putting it in the playlist. You can see my thing up on top right here. And it gives you 2 options. You either play them in order or you play them in a shuffle. And there's nothing else, and you can see on the screen, it doesn't have that option up there like it normally does, right? Where you can turn off autoplay. It's not on there. You see that? It's just, closed captioning. It should be right by that. But that disappears when you put it in a playlist for some reason. So, because you can see this is my playlist. I call it Shorts for Stream, right? And that's where I stick the shorts. And once you do that, it just automatically plays through. So, anyway. Hi, Tori. Good to see you. And hello, Simos. Simos is up late. Or are you up early? I always forget. Simos is up late. Simos dropping the emojis. Thank you, Simos. So, did you catch that, Scott, where you either believe in God or you're going to hell? So,
yeah, that's kind of a narrow set of options there.
Yeah.
And how do you know that? Once again, how do you know that? You know how to pay for a coffee at the counter, but do you know that you either believe in God or you go to hell?
Well, Lily here is, I believe, a Muslim apologist, because she takes on Christians too. So I've been trying to figure out exactly what it is, but that's where I guess it is, that she's a Muslim apologist. So, and she's got a bunch of these. I covered one of her other ones. I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but she's got these little gotcha videos. And okay, good for you. We're going to hell. So everybody knows now, right? Hello, Relic. Invictus. Good to see you. And Serbius. Hello. I just blew my own mind. Yeah, it's, thanks for the tip, right? And Relic is thanks for the membership. to stop the stupidity. She knows how to drink coffee, but does she know what grounds coffee?
Damn,
I
the
doubt it.
Brits are smart. I never would have seen that little angle. But he picked it up well. Because I even think the Islamic people try to do some of that presupposition stuff. Not all of them, but I think a few have.
And Speedy's here. Hello, Speedy. And Windmill says if you go to the navigate to general settings, there's a toggle to turn off. Okay, I will go and look for that. Thank you very much. I knew there had to be a way to do it. I mean, you know, STS with your welcome and drop in some more emojis. Good to see everybody. And yeah, we're going to hell if you're in the atheist community, you've just been told you're going to hell, in case you hadn't heard it before. So that was pretty short and sweet. And let me see what I've got some longer ones and some shorter ones. I thought I'd start out with some shorter ones because some of the long ones we can drag out some of these into a whole Saturday Night at the Atheists episode. They're shorts, but they're not really that short. Some of them pack a lot of stuff into them. So we'll just try the next one here.
All unbelievers know that God.
All right. So we got some doom and gloom music. There are no real atheists. Atheism is nothing more than a facade. They know God exists.
Unbelievers know that God exists. But
okay, well, I don't think you understand how that works, but
Yeah. That's the stupidest, dumbass thing a believer can say to an atheist. It's like,
really is.
Never mind. I have this book here that was written by a bunch of people who had never even seen electricity except as far as lightning, and they know what's in my brain today. And that's the only reason why I can say that there are no rules. But actually, there's really nothing in the Bible other than Romans chapter 2, I guess, that really deals with that idea. I mean, atheists really aren't mentioned in the Bible. Even the passage that says the fool says in his heart there is no God isn't really about atheists. So they just don't know. And look at here, we have James Apperson peering from the Netherlands.
The James Apperson. Good evening, James.
There might be another James Apperson out there, but this is the James Apperson.
That's right. Yeah, the OG Apperson.
I hope you didn't miss that you're going to hell, in case you didn't hear that before. We were informed you either believe in God or you're going to hell. So,
but at the same time, if everybody secretly believes in God, nobody's going to hell.
See, there's always a way around it.
There's always a way.
So now we're being told there are no real atheists. We've heard this before from our friend. Speaking of, let's see, where is our friend here? Our friend has told us before that there are no real atheists. So headphone check, folks. Are you ready? Turn it down a little bit.
No such thing as an atheist. You guys do not exist. Hey, answers in atheism, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot, and that desktop idiot.
That's me.
I want a stupid nickname. I feel left out.
When you have to resort to saying, you really do believe in God, you know you've lost the argument. I guess they keep on because they have to keep up appearances, but Isn't that just like a pathetic argument? You really do.
You really do.
You really do. You really do believe in God. No, there's no reason to believe in God. Why? I tried that anyway. I used to believe in God, but then I realized, no, there's no real good reason to believe in God.
Okay. I didn't know how to flip that back around. All right, now I know how to do it. There's always something.
Aunt Drew wants to know why the music was necessary.
In my little video,
your shorts for streams have a private status.
yeah.
Did you intend for that?
Who?
Well, this is my own private playlist.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The music, because you're brainless, and a lot of us noticed that Brad liked to yell a lot. Okay, and it was really hard to listen to because he would talk very softly and then he would get really loud, and everybody was saying, "Can't you do anything about the volume?" And all I could picture was him just yelling in one of these death metal things, just going, ah, right? So that was in my head. So I just put some metal thrash with him yelling at us. So there you go.
It works. It fits.
Yeah, that was the idea. I'm not a pro at it or anything, but how they make up the mix things, with the preacher dancing around or something to the metal music, and that's what I saw in my head. So, but Brad also told us that there ain't no such thing as an atheist, and it's like it's just the sky isn't blue, right? Okay. So we're going to see here if he has a little bit better argument than Brad.
They push that knowledge down and suppress it because they love their sin. Their suppression looks like this. A young boy is angry, but he's also hungry. So to show his anger, he hides his eyes with one hand to make his father disappear, while holding out the other hand to receive food from him.
Okay, this raises so many questions. Why? If you're angry at God, you're not an atheist. You're a miso or a mesotheist. Okay, there's a word for it. Atheists don't believe in God. I just don't know where this is going. But okay, you're angry at Father, so you're going to hide your eyes from him, even though you want something from him. All right.
This is how the atheist lives. They shield their spiritual eyes from the glory of God in creation, while expecting the ongoing provision of God to sustain their daily existence.
Wow. We're denying God while we're accepting that God made everything at the same time. This is a good one.
So, as it turns out, there are no real atheists.
Interesting.
The boy thinks he's profound. Well, I came up with something profound. Yay, I'm going to put this on video. But it's just like, are you a dumbass? He covered his eyes. If my grandson was covering his eyes and holding his plate out for food, I'd say, I'm not putting any food on your plate because you got your eyes covered. You're going to drop everything. I don't know what that has to do spiritually, but I thought that's the dumbest thing for a kid to do because nobody's going to put food on a plate of a kid who's hiding his eyes.
Hey, don't you? Jer points out you hide your eyes in fear, or you hide under the sheets and makes the boogeyman go away, right? Because they're they can't impenetrable to sheets, right?
Yeah, if you're mad, you, especially a little boy, you kind of either hold your hands on your hip, or you kind of fold your arms together, just make a pouty look, and then you go,
no.
But you don't cover your face.
But it totally is just, ridiculous, because it's saying, first of all, it's just denying that there are people that do not believe in God. Like, okay, you really believe in God. And I think he leaned to suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. He just didn't finish out the verse. I just pointed out, it may have been in the comment section on this video. You never know. That if I wanted to be forgiven for things that I thought I was doing wrong by God, I would just become a Christian and get forgiven. Right? I mean, there's an easy way out of that. But again, you have to believe in God. You have to believe in sin. You have to believe that you're somehow then suppressing all that somehow when you have a disbelief. And then that, what was the end part again? I have to hear that second half again.
On the other hand, to receive food from him.
Okay.
This is how the atheist lives. They shield their spiritual eyes from the glory of God in creation, while expecting the ongoing provision of God to sustain their daily existence.
Okay. We're expecting God to sustain us every day that we don't believe in. Wow.
You know, I usually expect the guy on the other side of the McDonald's counter to hand me my food.
Well, this is just. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
basically, it's refusing to see things the way the other person sees it. To a person who's a secularist or an atheist or even maybe a deist, it's not that God has provided for you. It's that, there are natural systems in place that humans have taken advantage of in order to grow food and to provide it and to can it, to bag it, to whatever, to get to people so they can have food to eat. There's heat in the universe that we use to cook the food, but that doesn't come from a God. That comes from the energy in the universe. So nobody's expecting God to provide for you while you're covering your eyes and being mad or whatever. It's a totally different framework, a totally different way of looking at the world that doesn't involve the unnecessary step of magic and voodoo and somebody in a gold and bejeweled dress like the Pope shaking his little stick at you to bless you or whatever. It's just, McDee's is not food, but you can get on that without getting hunger pains.
Yeah, to its credit, and obviously, it's very, processed and everything, but there was one of these travelers in the video that says before he gets on a plane to go somewhere, he'll have McDonald's because he's never had an issue with McDonald's. He said, I've eaten in a nice restaurant and then gotten on a plane and had to spend my time in the bathroom on the airplane.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it stays down.
Right. You never hear anybody recalling Twinkies. It just doesn't happen, right?
No.
Stick with what's safe, I guess. But, it's interesting because monotheism is late in the game, right? Polytheism is how all the theism started.
Mm-hmm.
So by his logic, the reason the Christians don't believe in all those other gods is because they really want to sin against all those other gods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're mad at those gods from Egypt for treating them like slaves.
Yeah. They're rebelling in their heart.
Yeah.
They accept all the bountiful gifts they get from the other gods, but then they pretend those gods don't exist.
Right, because, a lot of the polytheists have gods that are doing all these things, right? You have a god for the crops and a god for the water and the rain and the lakes and the bounty that's inside of them. They all have those gods taking care of those things. And we learned last week that Yahweh is not really all powerful because Yahweh needs to have a bunch of angels and demons doing its work for it. Whereas these other gods, you give them a job and they take care of that one job very well, all by themselves.
Yeah, they're out there taking care of business.
Yeah. So maybe an advantage to the polytheism because you actually have the so to speak, the boss actually doing the job rather than passing it off. And then when it gets screwed up, they they shirk their responsibility, right? Well, I didn't do it. It was that angel that didn't listen to me. But that angel's getting theirs now, right?
Right.
And we have left-handed Jedi dropping some memberships. Thank you, left-handed Jedi. We have, well, I have to pull up my other window. Okay, where's my other window? All right. There's my other window. We have to refresh. We have, as I said, left-handed Jedi 5 captive desk memberships. And that went to What the Beck, Reverb Twang, Duncan Downham, Producer Wes. Was that 5? 1, 2, 3. Seem to be missing one. Okay, and one other one.
Yeah, for anybody here that doesn't know, Wes is the producer of Skeptic Haven.
Yeah.
He was with them even before they were Skeptic Haven. They were something else back in the day.
Well, it seemed to have shaved one of them off. Let me see if I can refresh it again. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well. Anyway, thank you, left-handed Jedi, very, very much. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
And enjoy those emojis, everybody. And whoever got the other one, you enjoy them as well. And by all means, you're welcome to spam the chat here with emojis because I love the emojis. And I hope you love them too. So what was the very end thing that he had then? Let's see.
So, as it turns out, there are no real atheists.
Okay, yeah. You really got me on that one because you decided that the word that describes an atheist just doesn't work. So I'll just say, well, there's no such thing as a theist. How about that? Right?
Right.
No. But no, a theist believes, no. I don't care how you define it or what you say or believe or feel or anything else. I'm just going to say no. There's no such thing. Right?
He's so ungrateful for what the natural universe has given him that he wants to accept the bountiful gifts from the natural universe, but he imagines super magical people to give thanks to so that he can still stay angry at the natural universe.
Yeah, just a little glitch there. Stop the stupidity. Yeah. I know it's happened to folks before where they couldn't see certain ones or whatever, but it says they're there. So if your little thing, do we get a star on there? If you got the little star on there, you can drop those emojis. And if you'd like to become a member, you can hit that join button below and you can get emojis as well. So yeah, big fail on this one. You're just as bad as Brad. There's just no such thing as an atheist because I say so. It's like, okay, good for you.
Right.
So let's see, what do we got next here? A question for atheist. Okay, we'll see what this next one is here. This ought to be interesting.
And I'll bet they're not going to ask, how you doing? Wouldn't that
was
be
your
Hey, how you doing, atheist? You doing okay? All right. Well, nice to talk to you.
all right? We're taking bets on that.
For all you atheists, this is a question for you. Can you prove without a doubt that a God does not exist?
Oh,
Oh, he's got us now.
Shifting the burden of proof.
Fuck me.
yeah. Can you prove that Bigfoot does not exist? Can you prove how many accidents I was not in my automobile? Right? Well, no, I can't tell you how many accidents I wasn't in. I can tell you about the near misses, but I can't tell you about the ones I wasn't in.
Sounds
But,
like he's gearing up for some sort of Pascal's wager kind of deal. Can you prove without a shadow of a... Then why not believe in God? Because when I don't want him to, God can't tell when you're just pretending.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to be? He's got 20 more seconds.
He's going to waste all 20 of them.
All right. He's going to waste 20 more seconds. Let's see if we will as well. Probably.
Based on all your scientific proof, everything is just a theory. There is nothing proven to be 100%.
Oh, if you don't know everything, you can't know anything argument. The dot in the circle argument, right? You only know 1% of everything. So you can't know if a God exists. Well, then you can't know if a Bigfoot doesn't exist. It's just what ifs are endless, right? I mean, we could sit here endlessly talking about endless what ifs, right?
Dr. Dan has joined us.
Yeah, hello, Dr. Dan. How you doing? From Creation Myths. Just a theory. Drink. Yeah, we definitely need some bingo cards. I do. I know Deconvertiman sent me a link for a thing. I have to get with that one of these times and get it set up because, well, of course, nothing is 100%. Especially scientists don't like to say everything is 100% because new discoveries are made all the time and things are adjusted. But this is one of those philosophical arguments, right? I mean, we can pretty much say that 100% the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Now, could there be some epic disaster where the sun just blows up overnight? Sure, I suppose so, right? But there's no indications of that. So
Don't get my hopes up, Dave.
I know James is anticipating it.
Right.
But for some things, you can have a fair amount of certainty, just like things like with gravity, right? Without fully explaining gravity, you know, if you drop something, it's going to hit your toe, right? So we got another 10 seconds. You're running out of time real quick, but we're gonna give you a shot.
Fact. As far as space is concerned, as far as plant life and everything on Earth, there is nothing that is 100% legit. So without a doubt, can you prove to me that a God does not exist? That's the question for you. Have a nice day.
Dear, whatever your name is, Andy Rich something. Oh, Andy Rich, JP, love God. Okay. Well, thanks for advertising. No,
He loves God.
I don't give a damn whether or not you believe in God until you start harming people I know to be good people because you don't like the way they look, you don't like who they love, or what have you. There's a lot of things you guys do wrong, and if you start messing with people, then that's when I give a damn. But I don't give a shit if you believe in God. Now, why are you bothering me about God? So you know, bring a positive case. Otherwise,
Well, it's just a theory, Scott. It's just a God theory. So,
Yeah, you talking about his or mine?
well, the question always that's asked back is, first you have to define your God, right? So if you're going to define your God as the biblical God, and if you can disprove things in the Bible that the Bible claims are supposed to be from God and actually acts of God, like the flood, that there's no evidence of, then I could say your book is disproven. And if your book is from a supposedly infallible being, then your definition is invalid. So you don't even have the good definition to substantiate your argument for your God's existence in the first place. Hello, Jess. How you doing?
Neither.
And Jin is here. It's aliens. But of course it's aliens. But, they don't believe in aliens either. So, yeah, it comes down to you have to define your God. So if you say, your God can do this, and then I can somehow argue that doesn't happen, then that's an argument against your claim for the definition of your God. Now, then I don't know how I would disprove something that exists outside of our universe, outside of our dimension, outside of our reality. But I can disprove arguments for your definition of a God. So I think the question needs to be tweaked a little bit. How about that? Let's see, what's next? Okay. Oh, here's a classic. I'll say I just skipped over a Frank Turek because that guy just bugs me. But here's somebody giving his argument. So we'll do that one. It's the same thing.
His recently released book, Is God Real? Lee Strobel writes, after spending 2 years investigating faith issues,
you gotta love him. I investigated this for 2 years. Really, people have been investigating this for thousands of years, but you've got it all figured out after your little 2-year investigation, right?
Which was a fraud anyway, because the shit he claims he did and what the order has just been shown to be just total fabrication.
Yep.
And I know for some reason in these circles, they think some of these names carry some weight, but for those of us who know of these people, they don't carry any weight at all, really. I mean, like Scott was saying, when you find out their stories are made up, their claims of, just the other night talking about how they prey on people, that if anything good happens, they descend in to give credit for God and write a book about it and everything. And it's really disgusting. And he's one of them.
I came to realize that to continue in my spiritual skepticism, I would need to believe nothing produces everything.
Oh, cripes. Of course you would. Where do they get this from? Nothing produces everything. Hello, Wes. How you doing? Nothing produces everything again. Whoever said that, I want to know. We need to find this person that claims that we said everything comes from nothing. Right? Who did that? Come on, speak up. Somebody had to have done it. No. I don't know how many times we're going to say it. but I guess we have to say it again. No. First of all, atheists do not believe in God. Secondly, where everything came from and how the universe came to be and everything, they only know so much, and they work from there. So sometimes you have to have a little patience, okay? In the last just few decades, look how far we've come in our understanding of cosmology, right? Maybe give it a few more decades, right?
Now, I have heard somebody say that before. There are billions of people on this planet calling themselves Christians, and they teach that everything came from a being that doesn't exist anywhere in time or in space. In other words, it doesn't exist. So they believe everything came from nothing.
Yeah, we bring up often that ex nihilo is a theistic belief.
Yeah.
Hello, Pinworm. How you doing?
Well, I just asked Copilot the question about, who originally said something comes from nothing or everything comes from nothing, and they only really Copilot only really says Lawrence Krauss and his particular definition of nothing. It mentioned Lucretius, and then I forget the guy's name, Parmenides, but they both said nothing can come from nothing. So I'm sure it's more involved and detailed, but their silly creationist argument just is just old and tired.
Yeah, Aunt Jer has a good idea for a spray bottle emoji. Hey, Mike, I see Mike in the chat. Mike can relate. A spray bottle emoji, so we can punish the apologies with no bad spray bottle. I like that one.
Hey there, Pixie.
What else you got? I'm not expecting much after that. Lee Strobel and you would have to believe nothing produces everything. No, see, you're missing the point. An atheist doesn't believe in God. You have to stop right there, okay? The straw men are aplenty, and this is the favorite thing of apologists and these ones that make these videos about atheists, is they add all these things on. Stop doing that. But for some reason, it's been the nothing, and Lawrence Krauss was playing on that with the title of his book, obviously. So the nothing was already going around before Lawrence Krauss. And that's why he titled his book that, which, if you read his book, nothing is not really nothing. So, or you can go to Breakfast Tacos. All the stuff comes from pre-existing stuff, I believe, is how he words his argument.
Randomness produces fine-tuning.
Oh, fine-tuning. Of course, we're going to run down the list, right? Fine-tuning. The parameters of the universe. Do you know if the parameters of the universe were different, the universe would be different? Mind blown yet?
Yeah. Things different, something different.
Right. They're
kind of a tough concept. And what was he just saying? What was he just saying about? Can you roll it back just a little bit? Because his last statement was kind of dumb too.
Produces everything. Randomness produces fine-tuning.
Randomness produces fine-tuning.
Why would that
non-life
be a necessarily a logical contradiction? Fine-tuning, the phrase fine-tuning, because of the clumsiness of language, implies, intent, intelligence, intent, or whatever, fiddling with a dial. But you can have things be optimized through random events. He has to prove that it can't be. So I don't know.
And they're not really random events. They're governed by the laws that are
Right.
that are governing the exact thing he's saying about, the fine tuning is talking about parameters of the universe, and these things are the fundamental forces, right? And that then you're not really talking random. You're talking about how these forces act.
Right.
And then what's he got next here? Non-life produces life. Chaos produces information. Okay, well, this argument again, non-life, everything is made of elements. Okay, everything, including living things. As far as I know, there are no living elements on the periodic table. So if it's alive and it's made of elements, it's made of non-living things. But it doesn't produce life. This is where the chemistry and biochemistry comes in. So,
yeah,
this is, and then of course, chaos produces. Well, we know that the argument you can't get order from disorder, but you can. That's been shown.
Yeah,
Happens all the time.
Mhm.
Chaos in natural systems spontaneously generates order. If you wait for it for a while, it happens naturally, automatically. Also, chaos is information, right?
Yeah.
It might not be information that you can do anything with, but it's information.
Mhm. Well, he's trying to jam a lot in there, but he's not getting very far.
Produces life. Chaos produces information.
Right.
Unconsciousness produces consciousness.
Okay, well, I don't even know what that means. Unconsciousness does not do anything. It's a state of being when you're not conscious. But unconsciousness doesn't produce anything. So I think what he's asking is, where does consciousness come from?
Right.
Right. It can't come from unconscious processes. Well, yeah, it can.
Now imagine his God reasoning the same way that he reasons. Before he created the universe, floating around in an abyss where nothing exists but himself, thinking, wait, how could I possibly exist without someone to make me? How could I possibly have consciousness without someone to give it to me?
And Katie asked the question, where did God come from? And of course, yeah, there's a lot of videos. I might even have some of those, asking where did God come from? And they'll say that God always existed. And then you'll say, well, the first law of thermodynamics says energy always existed. They say, no, it has to be created. So
Right.
I guess it's what book it's written in and how much credibility you give it. And, academia tends to go with the textbooks, not the religious books. So 10 feet further. Scott says, the fitful dreams of head trauma victim after falling down.
That's an answer to the question, where did God come from?
Mm-hmm. Falling off your horse, you see Jesus. Yeah, that's something.
That would do it.
Yeah, that's something too. Yeah, somebody has an injury. Sure. I mean, I had quite a blow to the head when I got hit on my bicycle when I was a kid. And yeah, you're really in la la land. I mean, talk about ringing your bell, Okay, so that's another dud. You're packing a lot of duds into this. Yeah, a couple more seconds left here.
Non-reason produces reason.
Okay, he's just using the same bad argument. Non-reason doesn't produce anything.
Well, here's how non-reason produces reason. Somebody says something outlandishly stupid, you apply critical reasoning, logic, or whatever to examine it. You ask the person, did you mean this or did you mean this? Did you mean this or did you? Would this now be the point you're trying to make? And you restate a slightly adjusted statement back to them. And that sounds reasonable. That actually does agree with what the guy was trying to say. Boom, you have reason. So I don't get his problem. And you have some pretty darn reasonable animals out there too. I mean, I'm assuming he thinks that humanity is the peak, the ultimate on top of the hierarchy of reason or whatever. But you got some pretty damn smart apes. You got some pretty damn smart monkeys. Everybody has tales about their hunting dogs that are just totally intelligent and in different ways. So I don't know what point he's trying to make here. I mean, it's just a ludicrous thing to say. The only thing is, rhetorically, non-reason produces reason. Non-butterflies produce Cadillacs.
Well,
it's a rhetorical form, but it's empty. It means nothing.
Yeah, he's using his view of that a God does these things. So then he's trying to set up that these things somehow have power to do these things. But no, they don't. Only my God does. Yeah, I've seen where the metronomes all sync up. That's pretty neat. That's there's a name for that. It's pretty interesting how it does that. And did he start with excessive gish gallop? Hey, let me tell you, some of these folks can really jam a lot into 30 seconds or a minute in a short video. I can't do it. I've tried. I was so happy when they extended the shorts time to 3 minutes, because trying to do it in a minute, Dave doesn't do that very well. You relax, Mike. Mike's kicking back. All right, so he's got one more try here. Well, I don't know, maybe more. He's got something he can pack into. He's got 12 seconds left.
What's more, I need to ignore compelling data that supports Jesus' resurrection as an actual event of history.
Oh!
Now you're deleting it. Now I need to wonder what kind of medicines you need to be on or have quit taking because you want the Holy Spirit to give you your medicine.
No. I mean, there is historical evidence that there seems to be this Jesus person that existed. And a lot of us will grant that, not for the sake of the Bible, but because a lot of prophets and people that have spoken out against the governments, against class systems, against rulers, has happened a lot of times. It's happening today, right? We have people out demonstrating. It happens in other countries. People are out demonstrating. You've got the people on the street corner protesting with a sign, right? So sure, but that doesn't take the resurrection into an actual event of history, okay? And that's what this is usually their motive, I guess, or not motive. What's the word? Modus operandi, right? Where they're this is what they want to do. If you say, aha, well, if you say, well, Jesus existed, then you accept that he resurrected from the dead. And it's like, no, we don't do that. No, it's modus, not operandi. It's modus potus.
Modus operandi? Is that what you're trying to say? The police term?
Yeah, well, there's a word for conflating, another word for conflating things. Anyways, whatever the word is, that's what it is, because he's just saying, aha, Jesus was a person of history, so then Jesus resurrected. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
I mean, it's logically disconnected. I mean, that's just like,
Yeah.
lots of people. There's lots of people that actually existed in history where people made up fantastic stories about them. There's people today alive that people make up fantastic stories about. Kim Jong Un, for example.
Yeah.
There's eyewitness testimony to him doing miracles. But do we actually believe he did the miracles? No. People just are afraid to tell him he didn't do the miracles.
He gets a hole in one on every
Yeah.
on every shot. I mean, plenty of witnesses. I mean, he's got how many millions in his country that would attest to it? They would
Yep.
sign the document that, yep, every time he drives, it goes right in the hole. He doesn't even need a putter. He is just that good.
Just that good.
I didn't have enough faith to continue to be an atheist.
Probably because, number one, you do not know what an atheist is. Number two, your arguments are terrible. And number three, you totally lost me with your trying to make things into mechanisms of emergent properties, I guess, that really aren't. The way you were using words is interesting, but that's not how those things actually work. So, yeah, sorry. I do like the orange lettering, though. That's my favorite color. That's all I'm going to give you.
Was this written or was this filmed around Halloween or something? The orange letters.
I don't know. The glasses and the haircut and everything, it looks really old, but it doesn't seem to be. So maybe he's stuck in a time warp. It's kind of reminds me of a picture of my dad or something.
Yeah, somebody from 1953.
Yeah.
Posing, for some, I guess, a church photo or something.
Well, that was painful to go through. That was a whole 43 seconds. So let's try some.
Are these in descending order of IQ?
No, it's just kind of when I'm looking for stuff, when I come across the shorts, because I'm looking for stuff for Saturdays, so I put in keywords like atheist, evolution, the Bible, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And the shorts always come up first, unless you filter them out. So I just kind of scroll through them, and if there's any interesting ones, I put them in the shorts folder, and then I put some of the other stuff in a Saturday folder, and I put some other stuff in a watch later folder, and I think I got one other folder. I put my kind of sort them out a little bit, and then after I do something, then I just delete it out of there. So like, we go back. So like we just did this, guys. So then I can just go out, and then I can just hit the button over here and remove it from the list. And then he's gone. And speaking of who's next on the list, we got a couple of shorties here. So this will be short and sweet. This one is Atheists, Listen Up. So everybody listen up.
My ears are wide open.
Atheists, listen up.
See, I told you so.
Are you believing there is no God? Do you think by negating God's existence, it's going to erase your judgment? Are you feeling good? It ain't going to happen.
Hey, are you feeling good? Hey. Come on now. Come on. I like the attitude, kind of like, a little Jersey mafioso thing there.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. But, okay, I see where this is leading. Okay.
Because that's where you're going to be headed. You know why? Because everybody is going to be headed at the great white throne judgment. Unless you're a believer, then you're going to be headed to the judgment seat of Christ. Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Okay, so there's three things. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, your law is your religious laws, and I'm often point out Israel doesn't even follow most of the laws in the old books, okay? They're just all outdated. So claiming the laws, that's gray, all right? If you're going to go with 10 commandments, we really only have 2 of the 10 commandments as our laws, and those are pretty much universal. Don't kill and don't steal, right?
Yeah.
The thing about otherwise, it's a threatening that you're going to go to judgment. But as he points out, the Christians are not judged. See, this is my problem. Everybody else has to be judged. You have to get in line to be judged, right? They're going to pull out that paper and they're going to say, hey, on this day you did this, on this day you did this, right? There's all these things and it's all marked down on this list. But the Christians, whoop, get out of jail free card. As he said, they just stroll right in the gate, you know? They don't have to stand in line or anything. Now, that's great for you, right?
We've got some really good Godfather statements down in the chat.
Okay. But this is really bad for people that were good people, and because they didn't have the right religion are going to be in this big line to stand in to be judged because you didn't have, on this day and you didn't pray the right way, and on this day you didn't go to the right church service, whatever the rules are that you broke according to what religion.
Yeah, and today, among a lot of the evangelical circles anyway, the idea of you're going to get up to heaven and somebody's going to ask you, why should I let you into my heaven? This is actually what they teach us to ask people when we're trying to witness to them, way back in the 80s. And if you don't say something like, I prayed to receive Christ and I repented and blah, blah. And I guarantee you, just a few hundred years ago, nobody would have had any idea what that person was talking about, because the whole idea of giving your heart to Christ or whatever just would not have been something that they thought about. Because for millennia, a couple of millennia, everything was Catholic. And so, you might go to purgatory if you were kind of lapsed, but you would have all that purged out of you and get to go to heaven. Also, you went to mass, you went to a few festivals, you went to confession, and bada bing, bada boom, to borrow his Jersey language, you're covered. So
forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, you walk up, you slip the man at the gate, that little card, and he says, forget about it, go on in. Doesn't matter what you did. And as we've seen, well, those of us that have watched these movies anyways, in The Godfather, right, he's having hits put out on all his enemies at the same time he's at church for the baptism of his godchild, right?
Yep.
So they feel that, hey, again, with the, priest, I'll slip you a little something, and the priest will put in a good word for you, Godfather. Forget about it, right? I did appreciate the slang or inflection, whatever the proper word is that he's using there. That was humorous. We do appreciate it. Forget about it. But basically, he's just scaring you. I said before, I'm not worried. I don't think I have anything that I've done that's so awful. I often do question people that have a deep desire to need to be forgiven because, they have a guilty conscience about something, possibly, that I don't have. I pointed out often, if the Magic Zoo boat story is what's keeping me out of heaven, then I think that's unjust and silly. And I really can't believe that if there is this divine judgment that you're going to come up against some God that actually did any of the ridiculous things that are in the Bible. And if we do, he's probably wearing a clown hat and going, do. Right. And who knows if you're going to get in or not, right?
Right.
Throw some of them in, throw some of them out, right? Do. I'm gonna do a little dance here in heaven, and I'm gonna kick this one this way and kick that one that way. So yeah, personally, if there is the God of the Bible judging everybody, yeah, that's how I see him, as a total buffoon with the way he conducted things with sacrifices and the flood and genocides and all that. It's pretty awful, and it's either barbaric or buffoonery. It's one or the other.
Yep.
All right, well, who we got next? Can an atheist answer this? 20 seconds. Oh boy, he's going to jam pack his 20 seconds. Get ready. Lightning round.
Here we go. I don't want to lose you, but
okay, I'm going to prepare. I don't want to be lost. All right, I'm focused.
what's the preconditions for intelligibility? Christ's existence. If he doesn't exist, whatever you're engaging in would not be intelligible. But the fact of the matter is, even if you're an atheist, the very fact that you're engaging in something presupposes that God exists. Okay, enough of that.
Well, I totally agree.
Oh my.
My God, he went to a conference, jotted some stuff down in his notebook, and went, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back and use this. And he found some sort of excuse to use it. And it's just bullshit. It's a pretty tough bullshit.
And that, okay, now I'm assuming that he's saying that Jesus was God, because he's saying that there was no intelligibility before Jesus. Now, if we take that at its word, he's saying that nothing in the Old Testament is intelligible because it was before Jesus. Now, if he's saying it was before Jesus is actually the Old Testament God, then yeah, okay, we can let him slide. But the wording there is kind of goofy, right?
Yeah.
But this is the basic precept argument that you can't know anything, you can't trust your own thoughts or anything unless there is a God. Claude Balls. Hello, Claude Balls. Good to see you. The lunacy of creationists. Well, that's what we love. I mean, it's good entertainment, right? I was told I need to be forgiven for being born. Yeah, the original sin thing is just horrible. I mean, telling somebody that you're, who was it? Michael Beverly. It's got a newborn, right? And he was showing a little baby face the other day, when he was on the stream, and it's like, how can you look at that and tell it that it's awful, It was born evil or any of those things. Are you kidding me? But when you hold that newborn baby and you just look and it's got those wide eyes where it's taking things in and the whole world's in front of it, and you're going to blame it for anything, right? It's just, that's truly awful. It really is. But this guy here, I don't know, him and the last guy should get together with, forget about it.
Yeah.
They're both very cocky with their attitudes. And, you might as well be Darth Dawkins or anything else. This is the classic, without God, you can't know anything argument. And I don't have a God, and I know things. So, in my opinion, I've defeated the argument, because if I know just one thing, I know my birthday, I know my son's birthday, I know my wife's birthday, right? I know these things, and these things are verifiable, right? So I know something without God.
Right.
I never got the argument that without God, well, again, then who's God? Right, we're right back to who's God. checking the chat. Hellos going around, everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this guy is just threw the precept out there, and it's like, okay, you got me. I mean, I think it's funny, but okay, you got me. Let's see if we can even beat that. 19 seconds. How about that? Let's try 19 seconds.
So one of the greatest nightmares for atheism is the birth of the church. It's one of the, I'm not exaggerating. When you are able to articulate the birth of the church to an atheist, the church came into being because the followers of Jesus claimed to have seen him alive after being killed.
Okay.
I feel terrified. Are you shaking in your boots?
Because of the rise of the church, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty big now, but there's also other religions that are pretty big, like Islam.
Yeah.
You know.
And it didn't start off big. It grew about the rate, actually, they say that Mormonism did, starting in the 1800s. So,
and even with the smaller religions, you're still talking, millions and millions of people. So, and again, yeah, it grew from probably one person that started telling a story. Yeah, okay. And Christianity has the most followers, depending if you add Catholics or not. There's an argument about that, but we'll give it to you. But what if Islam passes it up? Is that just, well, there's more believers, so that one is true?
Yeah, you can only use that argument up to the point that they have the most people.
Yeah. So, okay. And of course, if you have, what is there, a couple hundred religions being practiced in the world, one of them has to have more followers than the other, probably, and one of them has the least amount of followers, and then the rest are kind of in between, right? That's kind of how it works out with anything, right? I mean, any group or organization, there's going to be more popular ones that grow a little bit larger than others do. So good for you. Doesn't say anything other than it's a popular group. And of course, we could bring up how many were brought in under the sword, how many are brought in just because of where they are born.
Or because the emperor converted.
Made it the state religion, right?
Yeah.
So that's it we get for 19 seconds.
Yeah,
I guess that's the cutoff. 20 seconds is the cutoff. You go below 20 seconds, it gets really, really bad.
Yeah, they fall asleep because this stuff's so boring. Yeah, the thing about all the people who claim to have seen him, well, we don't have any, direct witnesses to a resurrection. We have people years later saying other people said this, but that's the game of telephone right there. Some people say, we hear that a lot, and we don't believe that bullshit. But these are probably people who do believe that bullshit from the orange orangutan there. When you appeal to some people say, people are lying, and people are 150 years later, and things have been so exaggerated and so edited to appeal to a second century or third century crowd that you just have no way of knowing what was originally going on the ground in Jerusalem or Galilee. So once again, this stuff is for believers. It's not for actual atheists, because what they're doing is making sounds that sound good to the believer, and refuting refuting the straw man of atheism, because all these believers have is a straw man of atheism.
Well, let's see if we can do better. Oh, here's a favorite. We got this is our buddy Major Coleman. Scott remembers this guy. Let's see what Major Coleman has to say here. Major Coleman, by the way, thinks himself as a scientist because he has a degree in a social science. And what was the other one? Political science, something like that. Yeah, he's an interesting character. He built his own Noah's Ark that's like a bunch of toy boxes put together. Remember that guy, Scott?
Yeah, I look forward to this.
Okay, here we go. This is, if you believe in Jesus, you should believe in Genesis.
That is because, first of all, Jesus believed in the flood model, and it's the basis.
Now, hold on with the wording there. Flood model.
Boy, you sound so intelligent, Mr. Major Coleman.
Jesus believed in the flood model. Okay.
Yeah.
For the entire authenticity of the Bible. If you can prove that the Genesis story is false, you have destroyed the entire belief system on which Christianity is based. So that's why we use this model to show people that Noah's Ark was real and that the story is true.
Well, he said it right there. If you can prove there was no flood, you have destroyed Christianity. Okay, well, there's no evidence of a global flood. We have core samples from around the world, and we have exposed areas of the geologic layers that show different environments. So there you go. Sorry, no flood.
We have some wonderful floods that took place in prehistory, such as the Great Missoula floods, where a lake being dammed up by a glacier. Basically, the glacier broke open, and the lake just flooded, from Canada all the way down to the coast of Washington, just really tearing up the region. It was just, it was just amazing. It's amazing to look at. It's a much better flood story than a copy of a copy of a copy of a retelling of an ancient Sumerian, Assyrian, I forget the other country, all the different, flood stories that came before the one in Genesis. So, if you learn the science, learn about all the floods. The Black Sea, how the Black Sea got flooded by the Mediterranean, and
Right.
Several feet of ocean settled in over where people had actually been living. That was an interesting story to tell. None of these carbon copies of ancient flood myths that Genesis is.
And of course, floods happen. That anybody who lives near the water deals with floods. And speaking of, we have God stopping by with a $2 super chat saying, he's bad at this. I'm embarrassed.
Wow.
Appreciate.
I've seen God give a donation.
I know. That is truly awesome, and we appreciate the input, God. We really do. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching, too. Well, Major Coleman is a big dud we've covered him before. He's got a lot of full of himself ideas. He is a young earth creationist. He thinks all the science is wrong. Noah's Ark is real, and I'm sorry. First of all, you don't have a flood. Second of all, trying to make up the Magic Zoo boat it's borderline insanity. It really is. Grown adults sitting around figuring out how you put all the animals in this boat and feed them and get rid of waste and everything with one window, and then you spark up an oil lamp I got news for you. I'm going to tell you what happens. Kids, don't try this at home, okay? Methane and an oil lamp do not mix, all right? If you survived and didn't asphyxiate first to even ignite the oil lamps. So, no, it's total nonsense. It's animal cruelty, because the way they try to figure out the way to fit all the animals on is they compare it to cargo containers that are packed, right? No space wasted in those cargo containers, right? To animals. Had like packing animals like a big sausage into containers and putting them on a boat. It's just so ridiculous. And, of course, the cruelty is, if it even was possible, would be there. And why, even at Ken Ham's attraction down there in Kentucky, where there's going to be a protest coming up this summer, Ken Ham was told he was not allowed to have animals in cages on board that attraction because it was cruel and unusual punishment. And speaking of, headphone check, folks. And there has been an update. I understand that because of, because of a lot of the issues going on with immigration right now, that Vice Rhino probably won't be making it because he is in Canada. But I've also heard that Jay Bundy might be joining in at the protest instead. Well, not instead, but another person added, even though one of them can't make it. And I've heard there may be a couple other folks that were maybes that might be confirming. So it might be quite a crowd of YouTubers that's going to be there this year. Make sure you can subscribe to the Kentucky Atheist and all the information you need. He's got all kind of links and everything over there. If you want to know what's going on, just ask Joe and he'll let you know. Or ask me and I'll relay it to Joe and I'll find out for you. Okay? And let's see. What's next here? I said, oh yeah, the Baba. That's a long one though. Oh, this has got a good title.
An honest atheist.
This is atheist shocked by Christian evidence. I don't know if I was shocked, but I'm going to find out if I'm going to be shocked.
An honest atheist examines the evidence of Christianity.
Right?
He will either cease to be an atheist or he will cease to be honest.
Oh, that's a...
Can we say poisoning the well already?
Yeah, that's a low blow too, ain't
Yeah.
it? Just call me all dishonest and junk.
This is rhetorical hoodwink here.
That's just horrible. And we have the Jester dropping a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Jester. I have a Millennium Falcon model on my desk, everyone. Han is real. Beat that. A Star Wars theist. A Star Warriorist. I messed that all up. A Star Wars atheist. A Star Wars theist. There you go. Beat that. Use the chalk. Write it on the board. It's a slam dunk right there, Jester. I mean, I'll give it to you better than any of these videos we've watched.
I'm heading to the Star Wars store to get all of my paraphernalia.
Speaking of the Magic Zoo boat, you need a Magic Zoo boat emoji. Maybe. Maybe. We'll
Only
see.
Bigfoot could be like riding on top of it. Like what if Noah was really Bigfoot and his family?
Yeah, maybe. I've put it in Big Mama's ear to ask Kent Hovind one of these days if Bigfoot was on Noah's Ark. I'm looking forward to it coming up. That'll be great. Chris Moore is here. Hello, Chris. John. Hello, John. And God's in the chat as well. Good to have you here, John. God and Jin. Greg is here. Geo Sam is here. Zaravok is here. We got all the best people here this evening. Thanks for joining, everybody. And again, thanks for those super chats. Again, yeah, I am an official YouTuber now. If you'd like to drop some super chats, support the channel and all that, it is greatly appreciated. You can become a member, and we have all those great emojis and all that kind of good stuff below.
There's a reason why the greatest apologetics books are all written by ex-atheists.
Yeah, I always question that ex-atheist claim, but it doesn't.
The same kind of atheism that we do. It's always some bullshit. It's like maybe you're an atheist, but now you're for some reason you're remembering the straw man version of atheism that only Christians talk about.
You know, and I saw this young man doing a video one day, and he was saying something about him. I was an atheist for like 20 years, and I'm thinking, are you even 20 years old? You know, it's just.
Yeah, he's counting before, before kindergarten.
Yeah, it's just, and these other claims like Lee Strobel and everything. Yeah, up till 17, I was an atheist or something. It's like, oh, really? I mean, how much really thinking about it did you? You might not have followed a religion or gone to church or anything, but I don't think that putting it out there somehow that I was an atheist, like you had even considered it at all up until that point is rather silly. And yeah, oh, in kindergarten you were an atheist? Okay, good for you. So was I, right? Is it nap time? That's just, yeah, really weak.
Because they examined the evidence honestly, and they concluded that the Gospels were true.
Oh, so much to say. Just James, you want to try that? The Gospels are true if you examine them, James. What do you got to say? Go ahead.
If you find anywhere on the internet where there are Christians and Muslims squaring off, they play the exact same game, or they share video testimonies and just repeated rumor testimonies about how somebody used to be in your guys' religion. Then he studied our book and realized we're the right one, and they transferred over. And that proves the power of the glory and the truth of our religion, right? They just do this back and forth all day long. And then eventually somebody says, wait a minute, we're forgetting about the atheists. Shouldn't we be doing this to them too? And then they just ignore all the times where somebody quits being a Christian because they examined the evidence, like Bart Ehrman, for example. Right. And then they only want to talk about all the people that are joining their religion. But their religion is losing members faster than it's gaining members. There are more people every day that become atheists that used to be Christians than there are people who used to be atheists and become Christians. And the people that become Christians, they don't do it because of evidence. They don't do it because of a deep dive into the academic and intellectual philosophical issues. They do it because they're married to somebody that's a Christian and they don't want to be left out, right? They want to feel like, they're sharing an experience with their spouse or with their family, or because it appeals to them emotionally, right? Oh, wait, if I become a Christian, I can see my dead Gram after I die. Sign me the fuck up, right? They're not doing a deep dive into the academics of the issues. The academics come later, right, as post hoc justifications for a religion that they joined for emotional reasons. That's it. That's my input.
Well, we've got input from God that says, I knew somebody who became an atheist at 13, heard the standard church confirmation stuff and just said, nah, I don't buy it. At 13. Sometimes it happens. Yeah, I would say I was an atheist because I just didn't believe in that stuff. But I wouldn't cite myself, as an atheist for, all these years just so I can use it as some kind of a badge of honor to sell books, right?
Right.
That's where I think it's really weak. I think, yeah, sure, people cannot believe. Like I say, I grew out of it. And it's, you can throw those ages in there from, where you start growing out of things like, growing out of Santa Claus, growing out of playing with toys, all those kind of next level things where you're getting out on your own. You're becoming a teenager. Our parents had no clue where we were. We were roaming the earth, right? And of course, all the things that came with it. Cars, girls, boys, whichever way you go there, and other things to do. I say we were hitting the road, we were going to shows, we were whatever. We were out there. So
right.
Yeah, it just became a thing of it was just put on a shelf with my toys and everything else that I left behind. They are fishing for new members and comforting the doubters who are listening. The deep thinkers won't be fazed by this non-argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They, especially the ones that give you the look, hey, come on, you know what I mean? It's like, while I appreciate the effort, it's nothing new, and it's certainly not convincing. And when they have the videos too of what would convince you, right? Well, if you had good evidence, it would convince me. But what you think is good evidence, I don't think is good evidence. It's evidence. Technically, the Bible is evidence. Anything that's written down can technically be evidence, but you've got to corroborate it and, go through all the investigation and to see if what somebody wrote down really means anything other than they wrote something down.
They concluded that Jesus really did die on the cross and then was raised on the third day.
Yeah, see, the pause was fine, okay? And I'm with you, bud, okay? They concluded that he died on the cross. Sure, I'll grant that to you, along with thousands of others. Seemed to be the thing to do the day F around in Rome and you find out, right? You'd be up on one of them sticks, but lickety-split quick, okay? They did similar things in like some of the old cowboy movies in the Old West, right? They'd string you up, right? Just like that. Sure. So
it's too bad. Maybe he made a part 2 out of the other 30 seconds, but maybe somewhere in there he should have maybe proven that that's the honest position to take.
Well, it's the faithful position to take, but he wants to mix again, they want to mix historical where, again, well, if you, I'll accept that Jesus was running his mouth and ended up on a cross, because if you're going to look at it, pretty much, I think on most look at it, the historians look at it is there seems to be somebody that was causing problems and ended up getting crucified, right? Which was not an uncommon story. Okay.
I hate it when that happens. You just start the day out, you're going okay, and boom, you're crucified.
Yeah. Well, and a good way to do it is to, again, if we're going to pick through the story, if you accept that King of the Jews was the placard on the cross, right, that screams sedition, right? That screams that he was running his mouth, he was getting followers, and no matter what it was or anything, any group forming like that is enough to threaten the rule of Rome, right? Whether they're having their book club or a religious club or whatever, they don't like these little groups forming, right? And they're going to squash the leader, but quick. And especially if they were saying this is supposed to be the king, right? The emperor don't like hearing that, just bottom line.
That's
so right up to that point, sure, absolutely. And he could have been absolutely right and speaking out as he should have against the rulers and the class system and all those things that people speak out about. Yes, absolutely do that. But when you did that in Rome at that time, you probably paid the price for it. And I don't think that Jesus, I think James accurately describes it better of how Jesus wanted to take himself out, so to speak. You set yourself up as a martyr. You can be remembered as a martyr. But I don't think that it was any plan. It certainly wasn't any plan for the prophecies of the Messiah, because the Messiah was supposed to do things, not die.
Hey, gentlemen, I need to go. I've got some little rugrats to take care of early in the morning, so I need to bow out. This has been a great time. I've enjoyed talking about all these shorts. I think you found a winning format here.
Yeah,
good, because I got plenty of them.
All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Okay, Scott. Have a good evening.
So Zerovoke, quoting or referencing Sam Kinison. I miss that guy so much.
Oh yeah,
great.
The yell was just great, and there was I don't know if he was on stage or if he was on Carson or something like that or whatever, but they asked him, do you ever get, or can you still do the preaching thing or whatever? And he went right into it. Well, I don't know if I can get into it. And he just, breaks right out into, and it was just so great. He just had that powerful voice, and just amazing. It was a real tragedy. Gone too soon.
That's for damn sure.
Hey, we got DeFreak stopping through. What's up, DeFreak?
Yeah, I know DeFreak. I think he's the only Christian to ever show up and have a conversation with me about his religion on my channel. That was a couple years ago.
DeFreak has some fun at my expense over there with the Jim Bob crowd and all.
But, I see.
It's all good. It's all good. There's a few of them over there. We go back and forth. It's just the thin skinners like Jim Boob that block me after he calls me out, and then continues to talk about me when I can't drop a comment. So yeah, we'll just leave it there. But hey, nice of you to stop by, DeFreak. Appreciate you stopping through. And what time is it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going to look at a few more of these this evening here. You're welcome to hang out, James.
Yeah,
if you have to go, whatever. It's all good. I know it's in the evening, but it's been really good. A lot of folks stopping through. I saw we got 20 some people here. It was up to like 26 people stopping through. That's a nice crowd. So I appreciate everybody stopping through. Hope you're enjoying the night watch. This is third week I've been doing it. And like I said, a lot of the folks I don't see during the day, or when I see them somewhere else, they say, they're not around during the day, and I'm up at night. So I thought, well, I'll do some of this at night. So here we are. We got a 10-second one. We have to see this. Okay. 10 seconds, folks. This is going to be laid out in 10 seconds. I don't think I could do a 10-second video. I know James couldn't do a 10-second video.
I couldn't.
So here's two of us that there's no way we could ever do a 10-second video. About to watch somebody doing a 10-second video. I can't read all of it. What many atheists are like something?
Many atheists are like people driving down a freeway watching a building site going up. And they see the building making progress, but they never see any workers. So they conclude the building built itself.
What? I think you got that totally backwards. This is like I think he used the argument used against creationists that can't see or evolution happening in biology because you didn't see every little tiny little step, so you can't have the species at the end or something like that.
Right. So therefore, magic.
Yeah, he's just turned that argument around. I may not have it exactly worded right, but I've heard it before.
Yeah.
That if you can't, what is it? Well, science can infer, right, that if you see houses in different stages, that you could see a completed house. Oh, it's in response to like the watchmaker argument and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to turn the argument around, but it doesn't work. First of all, atheists don't believe in God. Where everything came from, you can believe whatever you want, really. If you go with the science, science pretty much has answers for pretty much where the stars and the planets and we came from. The Big Bang stuff and everything, that's a lot of still figuring things out. But generally, we know where we came from, so to speak. We had gravity. We had a star. Planets form around the stars. You've got the right mix with liquid water, and it seems life just loves that and took off all over the place as soon as there was liquid water on the planet.
Yep.
Robin Webster, hello. So as far as that goes, there's a decent understanding of why we're here, why the solar system is here, that kind of thing. So it doesn't really work turning that back around, because I can see, okay, if you have a star and then planets form around stars from what's left, and then that's why you have rocky planets and gaseous planets because of the mass. So the rocky ones form inside, the gaseous ones form on the outside. Okay, that all makes sense. So we can infer all these things. And then, again, space rocks come in with amino acids on them. So apparently you don't even need them to occur already on Earth or already be on Earth. You can have a rock come in with liquid water. As soon as the planet cooled enough, it took about a billion years, I think, to cool enough. There you go. Life took off. And then evolution seems to explain things from there. So I don't think it works turning that argument around. But I do know where you got it from, and I appreciate the effort. That was a good effort. I think it failed, but A for effort on this one. I'll give him that. Oh, we got rustling. I think I think James knows this guy.
Science always says.
You know the Ruslan guy.
Give us one miracle.
Oh, wait a minute. You jumped in too quick there, buddy. Put a little intro on your videos. Just a second there. Gosh. Yeah, this guy here, I came across him because he was complaining about all the strikes he was getting on his channel. So I don't know what the heck he was saying, but I guess he stirs people up.
Science always says,
hey, give us one miracle and we'll expand the universe to you.
That miracle is the Big Bang. Where did the Big Bang come from?
What? Atheists can't explain anything without this. And then he starts out with, give us one miracle? What?
Science always says,
hey, give us one miracle. And
no.
Science doesn't say that.
No, I never heard of any such thing. Science says, give us a miracle. Okay. I don't know where you got that from. I really don't. That's a new one. That's okay. I think you messed up the wording on that big time. I really do. I think you heard something and got it all messed up.
And we'll expand the universe to you.
That miracle is the Big Bang. Where did the Big Bang come from? How can something without...
Nearly 14 billion years ago, the universe was in a hot, dense state. Don't you know the song?
Right.
I mean, it was a pretty popular TV show. We understand the Big Bang came out of all the energy being in this hot, dense state, like stars are, where it's unbelievable how dense they can be. That's multiply that, and that's the universe. It's just that much more dense, all just packed into this one area of whatever size it is. A singularity isn't really defined as a size or anything. It's just a hot, dense state. And then the problem is, and this is what they don't like, is science is going to say we don't have any answers because the mathematics and the laws of physics and everything they use to explain the universe break down at the singularity. So we need all new understanding and math and everything to figure these things out. And you got to have a little patience and let the folks with lots of brains figure these things out with those big, huge math problems they do on those chalkboards and stuff that we just don't understand. You give them a little credit for doing that, right?
Yeah.
Mind beget something with mind. How can non-consciousness beget consciousness? But we can accept that that's true. But when it comes to the resurrection, people say it's preposterous. What metaphysical explanation do we have?
Well, yes, because again, you're dealing with something like the Big Bang that can be explained. We have like the cosmic microwave background radiation. We have the redshift. We have all these observations coming in from the Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope, learning all these things about the cosmos, right? And then you say, well, then the same thing applies to somebody coming back from the dead. I don't see how that follows at all. Again, I don't know. Is there like an assumption amongst believers that the supernatural is somehow demonstrable by science or something? It's very confusing how they can equate these two things together.
It doesn't make any sense. Even the part where he says metaphysical explanation for the resurrection, I'm like, no, we're asking about a physical explanation for it, not a metaphysical one.
Right.
And a justification, more importantly, for why you would even think it happened in the first place.
And that's why when they throw back, well, you just believe in the Big Bang. It's like, well, no, there's all these things that are evidence that lead to the Big Bang. Now, what's your evidence for a God? And again, go back to what's your definition of a God? But you're going to step right into the supernatural. Well, it's outside of everything that we can explain in the natural world, in our universe. Well, okay, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I can do that too. Bigfoot did it, and that's why I do that. So, but I fail to see adding God to anything helps the explanation. I think it just harms it because it raises a bunch of questions about God. When you already had a natural explanation, adding God to it doesn't seem to add to it. It doesn't work, first of all, in science. And secondly, it just raises more problems than it answers.
Yeah.
If we acknowledge that there was some sort of miracle at the beginning of the universe, then the miracle of the resurrection and the metaphysical implications of the resurrection aren't that hard of a pill to swallow.
Yep, see, that's all he's doing. He's just, he's saying the Big Bang is a miracle. So if we accept science explaining the beginning of the universe, then we have to accept somebody coming back from the dead. Then no. That's like saying, okay, if you accept the Big Bang, then you have to accept the story in Frankenstein, right?
Right.
It's,
Yeah. If you accept magic, you have to accept my religion's magic. I'm like, no, we don't.
yeah, and it's not. This isn't a miracle. I mean, you can use a definition of miraculous that the universe is even here, but the definition he's using of a miracle is not that. Right. He's using a divine miracle, not what we would say miraculous. Just like, if your child is born with 10 fingers and 10 toes, it's a miracle to you, right? It's it's not miraculous to equate to divinity. It's just when something good happens or something awe-inspiring or any of those things in that category, sure, you can say it's miraculous. I feel that way sometimes. You see the stars or a beautiful sunset or anything like that. Sure, you get the awe and wow, that's just miraculous that I was even here at this time to even see this all in front of me and everything. But that's a long way to making it divine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's more credit than I'll give it. When I look at the universe, I go, meh.
James is looking for that supernova.
Yeah.
He's checking the sun every day. Is there any swelling? Any swelling?
Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain?
Well, like I said, though, there's been a lot of life forms on this planet that came and went, and some of them outlived a lot of them and probably will outlive us. So, we're the ones that mess everything up. So I really don't wish anything bad on the other species that just went on about their thing for a long time. So again, some of them since before the dinosaurs and really haven't bothered anybody.
Yeah. Speedy got me cracking up. So just kind of like Stuart. I don't know if you guys know Stuart. Was it Mad TV or in Living Color? I think it was Mad TV.
Yeah, I think it's Mad TV.
Look what God can do. Yeah.
Yeah, Stuart had the big rosy cheeks. And,
yeah. He always reminds me of Stephen Meyer, the guy, the fake
same bad hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Every time I see him, I'm like, you've got the same bad hair you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed at all. Yeah, Stuart was a good one. And when he became Dark Stuart.
Yeah. So it's weird. DeFreak is in chat quoting the Quran. Like, why not quote your own religion's dumb book of magic? Why quote somebody else's? God.
Why do and Jay Pasick? Hello, Jay. How you doing? Good to see Jay Pasick and
I thought he pronounced it Patrick. Is it
Patrick? Patrick. Jay. Either way, Jay. Good to see you. And Ryan Murphy's in here. Good to see you guys stopping by.
Yeah.
I was watching Jay on earlier, and then Mike. Well, he had Peter on with him, and then Mike joined for a little while too. They were talking. What's that guy's name? Joey or something. They were talking about that one guy.
Which Joey?
I think you covered him too, James. The guy with the mustache and the brown curly hair.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Probably. I don't pay attention to names too much.
Yeah, it'll come to me. It's something like Joey or something his name is.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, they were on there. Jay's always got a good stream.
Right.
Let's see. We're having good luck with these. I'm going to keep looking for my shorties too. Right. Shortest ones here. What do you got?
While you look through that, I'm going to answer the freak really quickly.
Go ahead.
He says, wouldn't the creator, if we assume a creator being, be able to give life to people that are already dead? And my answer is no, right? And I made the same point with Jehovah's Witnesses years ago, because what they call resurrection is replacement, right? Because God remembers how your brain is assembled, your memory engrams, your personality traits, and whatever, right? And so he makes a person out of what he remembers that you were. That's a replacement. That's not you coming back to life. There's no way to unwag the tail, right? There's no way to bring somebody back to life that's dead. Because if you do, it's a replacement. You're replacing them with a clone. And it's worse than that, because it's not even the clone that's accurate, right? Because a lot of our memories are false, because we have a very malleable system in the brain for recording and replaying memories. It alters, and we don't even realize when it's altered. And a lot of our perceptions along the way are also false. So even if we recall a memory correctly, if it's built with a false perception, it's built with a lie, right? And so and then also we have all these memories of experiences seen through what you would call sinful eyes, right? So we have sinful, in the context of these religious narratives, sinful ways of thinking and feeling and being in the world. So there's so much junk in the context for a God to clean up, that the clone that he makes when he goes to quote unquote resurrect you is going to be radically different than the person that died with that name, with that identity. Radically different. They're going to feel different. They're going to think different. They're going to remember different, because a God is not going to recreate imperfection. They're not going to bring back the flaws that make you. And so it's worse than a clone. It's a clone that's so different from the original, it's absurd to call it the same person. And so when you ask the question, couldn't such a being bring somebody back from being dead? My answer is fucking no, they couldn't. It would not even be possible. So you wanted an answer? You asked a question, there's your answer. Yes, it's very much like the Star Trek transporter theory, right? You are killing someone, and they are being replaced with a clone at the planet. The freak says the mind remains intact. Well, you can say that, right? But I just explained some of the ways in which the mind would not remain intact. They would think differently. They would remember differently. They would have a different set of personality traits, because a God, as defined by the Abrahamic religions, would not recreate the imperfections. So, I mean, we can have that discussion if you want to, but you asked a little quick question, and I gave you a more detailed answer than it warranted, right? There's not really, you can't work around it. You cannot negate the point that I just made, the points. You cannot work around it. You cannot bypass it. You cannot do anything with it except dance around it and run from it and misrepresent it or accept it. And that's on you. You can do either one. I don't care. because all your God theories are just imagination. That's all it is. You're recycling other people's imaginings, and you're entitled to do that, but I'm not going to pretend it's anything other than that.
And there you go. Like I say, you got a question, I feel free to ask a question to the atheists. Might not like the answer.
Yeah.
All right. Now this is one of my favorites. If you don't know who L.A. Marzulli is, this is L.A. Marzulli. And he is going to let us in on a big secret that I was not aware of.
Do we have a Space Force? Okay, so when I was in Branson at the Prophecy Watchers Conference, a gentleman came up and we had a lovely discussion, and he took this off, wearing it around his neck, and he gave it to me. This is his lanyard. Check it out. Space Force. Here we go. There is a Space Force. It is in existence.
I'm so confused right now.
For those of you that didn't hear on the news, we have a Space Force now.
Right.
But that the president signing it into, which I didn't understand, because the way I understand it, the Air Force already takes care of this stuff anyways. But there's a new branch now called Space Force, right? And you may have heard that President Trump actually signed this into existence, and they formed this department, which again, I think it's a branch from the Air Force to somehow police space.
Good luck with that.
So, but it wasn't really real until L.A. Marzulli here, he's into all kind of conspiracy stuff. You can see he's got conspiracy right under his video there. I mean, he tags himself conspiracy, right? What is he? He tags himself. Okay. He tags himself. Interesting. All right. LA's into a lot of far out stuff, but because somebody gave him a lanyard that says Space Force on it, that makes it official, folks. I love LA.
We know about it. President Trump talked about it. This gentleman came up to me and hinted at some things, but obviously he's not going to break his security clearance or anything else like that. What was interesting is Philip Corso wrote a book. It's called The Day After Roswell. I highly recommend it. And he talks about Corso was the liaison between our government and the private sector to take some of this wreckage from the Roswell crash, and then give it to the private sector so they could back end.
Hey, they're gonna up and sometimes over that way over here, and sometimes up or down.
Good times.
And reverse engineering has so many problems. Reverse engineering something like from another government is one thing. Reverse engineering something from another planet is a totally other thing. And
we wouldn't have any frame of reference for like the material composition or the manufacturing processes, or even we would be so unqualified to reverse engineer anything we find from a species advanced enough to have made it here in the first place.
Well said, James. Well said. Yeah, it's purely in the realm of #conspiracy, just like he marks himself there.
Right. I'm still on that. I tag myself thing. Like,
he tags himself.
I don't want anybody else When I think about you, I tag myself.
Engineer it. Think about that. Think about that.
I already
we know
did.
from the halls of Congress that this is exactly what's going on. We have retrieved craft, and we have non-human biologics that were retrieved from the craft. I am Eliam Marzulli.
You know, I'm pretty sure, or maybe that was Hugh Ross that said it. Maybe I'm mixing them up, but one of them disagreed that there were any biologics found. And of course, they didn't find no biologics. These people they pull in are not credible with their stories. Not at all. Not at all. No. But of course, to LA they are, because he believes in all kind of alien lizard people, Illuminati, demon-infested conspiracy theories. He also thinks that Bigfoots are Nephilim. So I really don't like that part, because Nephilim are like bad. So
I bet Marjorie Taylor Greene follows this guy.
Oh, he's special. Every once in a while his name comes up. Somebody will be talking and they'll mention his name, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you hang out. Who was it? Just one of the prophets. One of those people that talks with God. Troy Black, that prophet guy, that talks to God all the time about Disney cartoons for some reason, because he's got a lot of little kids. It's a weird coincidence, and Fox News late at night. God loves Fox News, but yeah, he was on with Sid Roth, who is in the same realms as this guy. That's who was talking. It wasn't LA, it was Sid Roth. That's who it was. But yeah, he was all giddy about being on Sid Roth's show. And it's like, wow, okay. That's all you need to know if you're in these circles. That the funniest part about this whole thing is LA here used to be buddies with Sid Roth. And he let it slip one day that Sid Roth doesn't take his phone calls anymore. And it's just one of those old jokes where when Pat Robertson was talking about Ken Ham making Christians look silly, and now you've got Sid Roth, who's way out there. I mean, he's way out there, who doesn't take LA's phone calls because he's making him look silly. So you got the rankings. And you've got that moment too where you need to check yourself, right? When Sid Roth has almost anybody on his show. If you claim to have talked to a demon or just had a crazy dream, Sid Roth will have you on his show. And he doesn't take LA's phone calls anymore. So I think that's hilarious.
Even Sid Roth thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah, Sid Roth's still alive. He is. He's like really old. He looks really, really old. But yeah, he's still doing it, and more power to him. Kat Kerr the other day was talking about there are 500-year-old people walking around, and if there are, Sid Roth may just be one of them. But I love LA because he's got a lot of great alien stories, Bigfoot stories, UFO stories. He's big into the elongated skulls, Nephilim, which are giants. He goes around all these places. He's in with, I think Kent Hovind gets his information from him, because they both talk about the Smithsonian has all the evidence buried underneath their museum of these giants and everything. And yeah, they show up to these archaeological sites with their black helicopters, and they take away all the giant skeletons and stuff. So it's entertaining. Was it? Yeah, we'll do a couple more here. We got, because this guy here has a ton of shorts. So I wanted to bust through a couple of these because he's got so many of them, and I got a list of them here. So let's bust through this list of things here, and then I'm going to wrap it up for this one, because this guy is entertaining, and they're pretty quick. So here we go.
So check this out. Did you know there's actually over 200 flood legends across the world? But this actually supports the book of Genesis, because it says there that there was a worldwide flood that impacted the entire world. So something to keep in mind, the only way something fossilizes, it has to be buried rapidly in some type of...
Now, hold on. First of all, yes, there are lots of flood stories because people tend to live by water, because people need water for not only drinking, but irrigation and for transport. So, yeah, you live by the water, you deal with floods. My uncle lived near the water, you deal with floods. We have the folks that live over here in a low area near the bay. They love it there most of the time of year. They have their boats and they fish and they do all their things on the water. They also have to deal with flooding almost every spring, okay? That's part of the deal when you live near water. So yes, there are a lot of legends, but they're not all global floods, and they're all different, and they're caused by all different kind of means, and they're usually related to whatever their culture is. As far as a global flood, I don't care if anybody wrote about a global flood. There was no global flood. Now, where you're going from that, leaping into this other thing, is, we'll see.
Of mud or sediment. And all across the world, we find land, air, and sea animals buried together, not separate, but together. And even evolutionists are starting to come out and say, hey, the only way that these fossils are here is because they were buried rapidly in some type of water. But it actually...
We know how fossils are formed. Yes, they need to be buried rapidly, because if a scavenger carries it off all over the place and eats the bones too and everything, and then leaves them out to be exposed, and on and on and on. So yeah, you want, generally a fossil was somebody or something, some species that was unfortunate and got buried, okay? Again, that happens, okay? It's not unusual. You see people working construction and they have a cave-in, right? People in a cave and they have a cave-in. That's why they call them cave-ins, okay? Yeah. Bad luck for you, right? The ground shakes and you're out of luck. Mudslides, and mudslides happen underwater as well. And yeah, okay. But that doesn't, again though, the flood doesn't really explain making fossils, nor when they're talking about the Bible flood, because any of the creationists that start talking about the Bible flood are talking about huge geysers going off, huge tidal waves going, just destroying the earth, wrecking everything. You've got this massive turmoil going on, and that's not laying down layers or anything. It's just sloshing everything around.
Right. And nothing's getting buried in that hypothetical story.
No.
Right? Things are floating in water because they're drowning in water.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And they're just being, churned around,
Yeah.
And then that would indicate then that everything should be mixed in the layers, and they're not, even though, I don't know what he's trying to point out, that you can find certain species and layers together, but those species are usually relatives of, ancestors of, different species. They're not the same as the modern species. I know what he's trying to do there, but there's no evidence that a flood somehow laid down all these layers that are environments that include desert environments. So how you have a flood in a desert environment and they know it's a desert environment, the way the sand is made and the way the dunes are and everything, and the species living there. They're not fish. They're like today. There's only certain hardy species that live in these environments. So it's just wrong on so many ways. Just no, and nobody says that. And the scientists don't say that. No.
Actually says in the Bible that this evidence will be ignored. And this is what it says in 2 Peter 3:5-6. It says, "For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water, and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished." So it tells you that regardless of the evidence, that it will still be ignored. Subscribe to Bible Explored for more.
Yeah.
So the question...
That's because there's no evidence of a global flood. Again, in the layers, there are different environments, and especially, like I said, desert environments. You cannot get a flood layer in a desert. Okay, that's different things completely. Okay, completely. Hello, Barius. How you doing? Good to see you.
I like how he didn't even tell me what verse he's talking about, so I can go look up what it says and get the context of it.
And Issa's stopping through too. Hello, Issa. Good to see you too. Thanks for stopping by. Well, let's see. What was it?
Gets asked a lot, are dinosaurs in... So check this, come out and say, hey, the only way that these fossils are here is ignored. And this is what it says in 2 Peter 3:5-6. It says...
2 Peter.
2 Peter 3:5-6. You can look that up.
Was it 2 Peter what? 5 and 3, 5 and 6? What do you say?
Third chapter, verses 5 and 6.
Okay. 3.
All right, so that's not talking about the flood. That's not talking about the flood at all. That's talking about the watery world that God terraformed in Genesis, where he pulled the earth.
Earth was formed out of water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not talking about the flood at all.
Well, 6 says, these waters, also the world of that time, was deluged and destroyed. But the world of that time. Okay, yeah, that's the world of that time. Yeah, you're right. That's not the right one. It's not talking about Noah. They deliberately forgot that long ago by word the heavens came into being and the earth was formed out of water and by water. Okay, I'm just even more confused.
Yeah, me too.
Why he's even citing that, I don't know.
As for this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water, and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. So it tells you that regardless of the evidence, that it will still be ignored.
No. I mean, this is the argument of denying creation is denying the creator argument, but not of denying Noah's flood. There is a verse about that, though, because Hovind cites it all the time. But it doesn't matter because there was no global flood, and it has to be the writing style of if you have a flood that washes away your whole property or your neighbor's whole property, or you and your neighbors, or you and your whole city, your whole village, bigger and bigger and bigger, all gets washed away, then in a literary style, of course, your whole world washed away. But it cannot mean a literal global flood unless you're going to say it's a miracle that left absolutely no trace of it, including no bottleneck amongst all the species that would have gone extinct. No bottleneck of humanity at the time that would have caused us almost all to go extinct. And there are civilizations that go back 50,000 years, way past this time, that didn't go extinct. So I don't know what you can't, what was the last thing? I don't even care anymore. There was no global flood. Okay, stop with the global flood. There wasn't, and we've known that for a long time now. Just stop. Okay, unless you're going to do what we've been asking creationists to do, is just say it's a miracle. Don't say there's evidence of it. Don't say scientists have found evidence of it or any of that. There isn't. Just stop when you believe it's a miracle.
Right. We also know the earth wasn't formed out of water, right? It wasn't a watery void that was given land. That's not how water came to be on earth. That's not how the process went. So, this is just people that were illiterate. They were scientifically illiterate and superstitious and appealing to the legends of their tribe. That's it. So,
and so next on the block here, he's got a couple good ones here. This is a classic. Dinosaurs are mentioned in the Bible, and I've done a video about this, so I'm ready. Here we go.
Subscribe to Bible Explored for more.
Yeah.
So the question gets asked a lot, are dinosaurs in the Bible? The answer is yes, but
the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Let's go ahead and step back real quick and let's find out what that word dinosaur means and where it came from. The word dinosaur actually wasn't invented until 1841.
Because apparently God didn't know what dinosaurs were, or there should have been a word for it in the Bible.
Right.
I'm sick of hearing this. Well, of course dinosaurs aren't mentioned in the Bible because the word wasn't invented until the 1800s. And I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't God know what they were?
Right.
Right? Does God, and didn't Adam name all the animals? Right?
Right.
Okay, so that's a double whammy right there, that you can't use the excuse that the word did not exist. And if he's going to try and equate the word dragon, I've looked that up too. First of all, the dragons they speak of in the Bible are not dragons as we think of. And the word actually goes back in most instances to a serpent, which is not a dinosaur. And that often represents not even a real being of a serpent, but evil. That's what it represents. So that whole thing, too, of the dragons are actually dinosaurs, Ken Ham and them repeat it. Nope, not when you go back. And I use the Strong's version of the definition things that Ken Ham says he uses, and that said the same thing. I used his source to define it, and that goes against him on that. No, there's no dinosaurs in the Bible. And no, the dragons mentioned are not the ones you think of that the Lord of the Rings or whatever your favorite movie has a dragon in. That's not it. It's more a representation of an evil and or of very evil places where people weren't supposed to go or didn't go for various reasons.
And it just means terrible lizard. But there's actually a couple animals, specifically in the book of Job, that mentions a type of dinosaur. The first one is in Job 40. It talks about a behemoth. And when you go through there and read the context, it seems that it's some type of brontosaurus.
No, it seems like it's a hippopotamus. And I will tell you why. Because in my video, I found out when they talk about, he's going to mention, and maybe, I don't remember, the tail sways like a cedar or some mention like that. And that's one of the versions they like to latch onto. Most of the versions, they'll also say that it makes its tail stiff like a cedar. Okay. Now, some of us understand what happens when our tails get stiff, right? Now, in a hippo, it tends to point backwards to help with, getting business, okay? So when you see it making its tail stiff like a cedar in the original languages and in the older versions of the Bible that speak more bluntly about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then they'll talk about, hey, do you ever see that tiny little hippo tail? And it's like, that ain't the tail they're looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't make your tail stiff. I mean, that doesn't really make any sense. There is something that you make stiff. Okay. All the other descriptions are hippopotamus, including it lies covertly among the reeds and the lotus. Now, I don't know what his understanding of a brontosaurus would be lying covertly among the reeds and the lotus, but I don't think it ever did anything covertly. What does things covertly are species like a hippopotamus that have its eyes and its nostrils on the top of its head, as well as crocodiles, things like this. Now, there's 3 of them that would include snakes. So now you go on with further definitions. It leaves out snakes, and it leaves out the crocodile. You're left with a hippo that lies covertly among the reeds and the lotus, and it makes its tail stiff. It also mentions that it's never been tamed by man, something like that, and that it's very hard to kill. And there's good warnings, or good reason to be warned about a hippo. Hippos kill people every year, and they will attack your boat. All right, you're not safe in a boat. They bite boats.
Wow.
Right? And once you're thrown into the water, they're not meat eaters. They don't want to eat you. They're just very territorial. And they will wound you or just throw you into the water, where the crocodiles just sit there waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all that put together, there is a lot of reason to be warned about a hippo, that it's never been tamed by man. Its mouth swallows up the whole of the Jordan. Okay. Have you ever seen them open their mouth? It's huge. Okay. It's a hippo. Now, there's some people that will argue that it's an elephant. However, elephants usually don't stay in the water. Elephants are always on the move. They come to the water, they fill up, they play for a few minutes, and then they're on the move again. And that's why I tend to lean with it's a hippo. But you could probably go with the same argument, because, again, the creationists will say elephants have a tiny little tail like a hippo, right? But their other tail is not tiny. So Nitty brings it up often, all the mentions of the sizes and what people are doing. And there's a lot of colorful descriptions of the birds and the bees in the Bible. And these are the things they seem to notice. So it's not a tail, it's their Johnson.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Job 41, it talks about a Leviathan.
First of all, Leviathan's a sea monster. Dinosaurs are land animals. And if you want to say it's a marine reptile, no, it's not. It's a mythological beast that was killed by God, and there only seems to really be the one. It's not a species of dinosaurs.
Which is some type of fire-breathing dragon. But go ahead and read through those scriptures in the context. And
Yep, I did that, bud. Nope. I'll say one of them is a fair warning about a hippo. The other one is a supernatural beast. It was killed by God, and God fed it to somebody that needed food. So, nope. Supernatural and a hippo.
Job 40 and 41, and let me know what you think. Subscribe to Bible Explored for more.
Now, this next one's going to be a classic, and I just love this one, so I can't wait. Here we go. Everybody get ready. This is a classic here. This is out of a Kent Hovind playbook right here.
So I have some not so exciting news. I put out a video, it was about 1.5 years ago, talking about this piece of wood here that I'm waiting for it to evolve into like a butterfly or maybe a camel or something.
Oh, okay. Stop the Stupidity says 500 people get it from a hippo every year. Yeah, they're one of the top ones. Don't mess with them. They do not want to be messed with at all. Wow. And I saw one that was keeping up with an outboard motor. It's making a wake, and I don't know how fast it's going, but you figure it's going at least 20 knots or something, and with an outboard, right?
Yeah.
And the hippo's keeping up. They were just keeping out of reach. Okay.
Wow.
They can move. Yeah, don't mess with them. Don't mess with them. And that's my spirit animal, by the way. I want to come back as a hippo.
That's fair.
Nobody messes with a hippo. Not crocodiles, not lions, not elephants. Well, they might bump heads a little, but pretty much they get left alone. Seriously.
That's awesome.
And if you irritate them, they'll bite your boat. I just love that attitude. You know, crocodiles don't even do that, you know? It's like, man, you think you're all that in that boat? Watch this. Mind you, they have 2-foot tusks. All right. That's like as much as I can get in my screen here. Okay. 2-foot tusks. All right. They will bite your boat.
Wow.
So, this thing here,
This guy's not even trying to be reasonable. I mean,
it's so dumb. It
piece
is
of wood to evolve into something. Like,
all he needs is a Hawaiian shirt. This piece of wood, wait for it to evolve.
fuck me. I mean, what he's admitting to is that he knows his followers are stupid. He knows they are.
Sad update. Nothing has evolved yet.
Yeah, how about
update
that?
maybe a year and a half from now when I release another video, but we might have to wait like 3 billion more years. But right now, there's no updates. I don't see any arms or eyeballs evolving out of this yet. But hey, maybe in the future, we'll see what happens.
No, it's never going to happen ever. And this is almost this would be kind of funny if it was a parody. You know what I mean? Like, but he's being serious. He's not making fun of himself. He's trying to say a piece of wood evolves. Now, I could say if it was still alive and still a tree, that the tree could speciate, right? But a piece of wood, I mean, this is like Hovind saying, "Oh, I got a, what is it? Thing here? I got a rock here, and I'm waiting for the rock to evolve, sitting on my desk, right?" And it's like,
right.
Yeah, can you be any dumber? And if you're trying to win somebody over, this kind of nonsense, I don't know. It's fun for their crowd, maybe. So yeah, ha 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 or something, but it's really stupid.
Yeah, it is.
But he's got more.
So I have a question for evolutionists, and specifically those who believe that the Earth is millions of years old. Back in 2003, there is a T-Rex fossil found with red blood cells and dinosaur soft.
Nope. How is this T-Rex fossil millions of years old? Well, because they date the fossil by the layers that it's found in. That's why. And it doesn't matter what they find inside the fossil. It doesn't change the age of the fossil. But go ahead and repeat some stuff that is baloney, like they found blood cells, which they did not.
Tissue is actually found in Montana. I'll actually post the article below as well.
Yeah,
so my
I'm sure.
question is, these substances should break down in just a few thousand years. How do you justify that this fossil is millions of years old? Because the article says it's 60 million years old. So that's all I want to know. I'm not trying to create controversy. I just want to have a healthy debate below because I just have the question myself and I'm just curious. So comment.
Just asking questions.
Yeah. Well, that's baloney, because if you were serious at all about looking, one of the lead people that made this discovery is Mary Schweitzer, and Mary Schweitzer has also done subsequent interviews, and she's been on YouTube channels and all kind of places, and she's been asked about these things, and she's refuted it, and she says, no, basically these people that are talking about this don't know what they're talking about, okay? What they found is what is left from a blood cell or things like that. What they found was the chemical traces left behind from things like DNA. Okay, these are the chemicals. They haven't found these actual things. It's more like they found a stain in the fossil from the chemicals that made up these things at one time. Okay, So no blood vessels, no blood cells, no DNA, no. And what was the other thing? Soft tissue. Okay, soft tissue is just a term. It just means not bones, okay? So when they find anything that's not a bone, every once in a while they'll find like organs or something fossilized. This is soft tissue. It's just a term. It doesn't mean that they found meat on a bone. They didn't. And doesn't change the age of the fossil if they did. They would just have to explain why a piece of meat was still on a fossilized bone. Because how it was dated has nothing to do with it itself.
His research skills are like right up there with Michael Jones. Right up there, man.
And this is well known. Like I say, if you look this up right away, you're going to find Mary Schweitzer's name. And if you look Mary Schweitzer up, you're going to find her explanations for all these things. It's not even hard. It's the first things that's going to come up in a Google search, because she was the one that was on TV and everything when they were talking about it. Guaranteed she's going to come up in a search. So really lame, really lazy. And Mary Schweitzer herself says basically, shame on you, her Christian peers, for fibbing.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question for atheists. Can you share your perspective on the origin of the universe? If nothing created everything, I want to know, where did that nothing come from? Comment below and subscribe.
Yeah, these are quick and easy. Nothing is incoherent, and we don't say everything came from nothing, and nobody I know says everything came from nothing. Not even people like Lawrence Krauss that wrote a book about a universe from nothing. He was actually talking about something. And I've heard Peter Atkins talk about his theory about the beginning of everything. And he seems, because we have a positive and a negative, matter, antimatter, everything, that at some point there was a split of nothing, but it had to be something. So it doesn't matter who it is. No matter what their argument is or how they present it, there is still something. Breakfast Tacos says stuff always comes from stuff. Nobody that I know of that's making any of these arguments, or any of the scientists I hear talking about, like Lawrence Krauss or any of the other ones, Brian Cox, any of these folks are not saying this. So no, we're not saying that. Nobody's saying that. I don't know anybody that's saying that. So maybe you should cite who you heard say that, because I don't think anybody's saying that, and I think you're making it up.
Bob will explore for more. Atheist, Jesus' disciples went from being terrified of death to be willing to die for Jesus and believe that he died and rose again on the cross. So,
okay, well, first of all, his disciples' beliefs aside, if you're going into martyrdom, that's very sketchy, because it doesn't say that in the Bible. You have to go to outside sources, which not everybody agrees with. But even if they did, people become martyrs for a lot of reasons. People becoming martyrs right now in places in the world and all through time. We've had people, the monks that were demonstrating things, setting themselves ablaze and everything. Dying for a cause, a lot of people do, and sometimes it's a good cause, and sometimes it's a bad cause, like, flying into some buildings.
my question is, if Jesus didn't die on the cross, what do you think the change was attributed to for his disciples? And there are also a lot of outside sources.
Well, I'm going to say they were disappointed because the Messiah wasn't supposed to die.
One historian named Josephus, and there are a lot of other historians that documented this, that in that area, something massive changed. So my question is, if Jesus didn't die on the cross, what changed their minds? Let me know.
If he didn't die on the cross, what changed their minds? Well, again, see, I don't understand what he's talking about, because my understanding there's nothing in the prophecy for the Messiah for dying without completing the prophecies in the Messiah for the Messiah. And some of those were like expelling the enemies, Jesus was going to sit on the Messiah is going to sit on the throne, be a great leader, reunite the tribes, all these kind of things. And I would say that if they believed that was all going to happen, and then Jesus was crucified, they were probably bummed. And then what happened after that? I question a lot of that. I don't know. For one thing, if they were all martyred, you'd think it would be mentioned in the Bible, and it isn't. Seems like an important thing, and it could have been, because there are Bible stories written decades later, and surely these martyrs happens, at least some of them happened during those times, and it's not in there. So they didn't seem to make a big thing about them being martyrs. In fact, I don't think it really mentions what happened to a lot of them at all. I mean, they were given the power to heal and teach and, go out into the world and all this kind of stuff, and they kind of just disappeared, really. So, I don't think, people will believe things. People will follow their beliefs. People will be in these religions. Some of them will become martyrs. They will do things in the name of. They will seriously believe it's the right and just thing to do. It doesn't prove it right, even if it is a right and just cause, although it could be. All this proved is that they believed that Jesus was going to be the Messiah, and that's why they were following him. And I have a big problem with anything after that, because you have a whole problem with Jewish beliefs, and where they found, him coming back is confusing as well, because the Messiah is not supposed to be a supernatural being. He's supposed to be a man. And if he's supposed to be a man, then coming back seems to fall in the supernatural and rules him out as the Messiah. So their get around of him coming back in the future doesn't seem to work either. So it seems to me a lot of it just came from stories that were made up to try to, I don't know, to appease the disappointed, maybe. That's the way I see it, because it doesn't make any sense as far as the Messiah arguments go. And even if they believed it all and everything, and they died for it, people will die for a lot of things. So it doesn't make it true. It can make them very devout enough to, if they were martyred, to believe it was worthy to be martyred for. That still doesn't mean it's real.
Right. I mean, we could talk for hours about everything that's wrong with the narrative, the story, all the elements of the story about Jesus rising from the dead. It's not what the Messiah was supposed to do, right? You can't have it both ways. You can't admit that the reason that Jesus' own friends were confused is because the Messiah wasn't supposed to die, and because he hadn't accomplished the things that Messiah was supposed to accomplish, and then turn around and say that he had to die and raise again because that is the fulfillment of prophecy. You can't have it both ways. Nope. If it was fulfilling prophecy, then it's exactly what the Messiah was supposed to do, and then the Jews would have thought so, his friends would have thought so, but they didn't. William Lane Craig, recently I watched a video of William Lane Craig admitting that Jesus didn't do the things the Messiah was supposed to do, and when he alleged, when he's believed to have risen again, that isn't a thing the Messiah was supposed to do. So it just, the same point is made when people call him the Justin's channel, deconstruction zone, right? The Christians always call up, but they're going to prove God, or they're going to prove the resurrection, and they're going to prove Jesus fulfilled prophecies, etc. And justice walks them through it, and they end up having nothing. They admit they got nothing, right? The New Testament stories don't jive with the Hebrew messianic expectations. They just don't align at all. It's a whole new religion with a whole new set of ideas, whole new set of claims that tries to retcon itself to fulfill Hebrew stuff, but it doesn't fulfill. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Paul ever read the prophecies at all. DeFreak says he's supposed to be a man, but never is supposed to die. No, I said he wasn't supposed to die as part of the prophecy. He's supposed to fulfill these things. Then, of course, someday, obviously, he will die. But that he didn't fulfill, and the excuse is that he's going to fulfill them when he comes back. But part of the prophecy is that the Messiah will be a man. There's always one in existence or whatever, right? Every generation or whatever, there's always the possibility of the Messiah. This man supposedly always exists, and when the time is right, he will step up. Okay, so there's like always one in waiting for the right time. But when the right time comes, they're supposed to step up, and they're supposed to do these things. Lead the great battle, be a great leader, expel the enemy, reunite the tribes, sit on the throne. What else? I can't remember, but that's basically it. You're going to do all these things. He's going to be a big, victorious leader, right? And that's what they were looking for, especially at the time when they were under thumb, is they were looking for somebody that was going to be a great leader and free them and everything. And that did not happen. And that's part of the prophecy or what the prophecy is. It's wishful thinking for, to get rid of the enemies, right? That this great king's going to come and save us. And they thought Jesus was it, and he wasn't. But yeah, everybody dies, including Jesus.
Right. So I don't know what Catholic traditionalist would want to argue, but
Catholic traditionalist tends to drop in on people's streams after they've been on for a while and saying, give me a link, I can do this. And I saw him on Deconverted stream doing the same thing, so I'm questioning their authenticity. But we'll see. I told him before to show up, not after I've been on for how long, and it seemed to happen again. So, but right now, that's not what I'm doing. If you've got a question, I will stop and I will answer your question. I do have this stream tagged. You can ask me a question. Yeah, and it could be Otangelo. If you have a question, drop the question. If it's going to be a long and drawn out thing, that's not what I'm here for. I'm doing shorts. So I expect your questions to be right to the point. Okay. So if you want to ask me, like, why don't you believe in God? I'll give you an answer or something like that. Or drop me a super chat, even better, and ask me your question, and I will stop and I will answer your question.
Below. Atheist, I want to get your thoughts on something. So if you're familiar with the Bible, there were hundreds of prophecies written hundreds of years before Jesus' time. And these were pinpoint prophecies. Like they would say, hey, Jesus is going to be born in this specific area, this specific time, in this specific...
Yeah, well, it seems to me that they had to fudge the story to get a pregnant Jesus to travel to another town at the last minute to give birth in the right city to meet up with, to match up with the prophecy. So I don't really, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. You mean Jesus of Nazareth, right? Jesus of Nazareth was born in Bethlehem. Well, they traveled the night before, so he was born there to make it under the wire. And no, that's a big fudge. It's a big fudge factor, right? And who puts their pregnant wife on a donkey and goes off in the desert anyways, right?
Right.
Or even if he wasn't the husband or whatever, the father, I mean, And how do you get a 9-month pregnant woman up on a donkey in the first place?
Yeah. Oh my God.
No, that's one of the big fudge factors I think everybody agrees on, that they had to get Jesus of Nazareth into Bethlehem somehow. And they did it with a story that doesn't really make any sense, including the census, where everybody had to go back to their homeland to be registered in a census or something.
Which we know didn't happen.
Which didn't happen and is impossible to do. Everybody can't. And where do you go, to both parents' homelands? Or, there's just so many problems with the thing of going back to your homeland that it's obvious they were just trying to somehow get Jesus from where he was actually from to Bethlehem.
City. And so just to fulfill 8 of these prophecies, I was reading some estimations, you can Google it yourself. It's 1 in 100 quadrillion chances that he would.
Probabilities for prophecies. Yeah.
1, he didn't fulfill any, literally none.
None.
And you can't, these estimates, this math is just made up bullshit anyways.
Well, you see the title of this, right? It would take Jesus 1 in 100. He's got all the zero chance to fulfill 8 prophecies. Well, I can't even get 1. And besides, the fact is, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, sure. What somebody just mentioned here a minute ago about, Speedy. Yeah. That's the ticket. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever even seen a calculator that can display that many digits.
Mike and I have talked about the probabilities thing. Mike from Answers in Atheism. We've talked about it before, that every time you hear these probabilities, they're never the same numbers. That means they're making them up. First of all, it's nonsense. And second of all, they can't even get together and agree on a big number. They just throw a bunch of zeros into the 10th power times a billions, and wow, look at that big number. And everybody in the audience goes, wow, look at that big number. And it's like, that number's meaningless, though. It's just a big number.
It's just a number. He just made it up. And it's funny. And to freaks, they knew exactly what you would say 1,500 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, it's somebody that's writing bullshit in a book, down on some parchment says, someday somebody will say this is total bullshit. That's how you know it's true, because somebody won't believe it. Come on.
Yeah, that's it, Jedi. The one said earlier, if Major Coleman said it, that if you can prove the global flood didn't happen, it disproves the entire Bible. That's been done. So according to Major Coleman, right out the window there, buddy.
Right out the window. I mean, that's the issue that deconverted me at age 41. I watched a Dark Matter 2525 video about it and realized, holy shit, even with God magic, this can't have happened. We know for sure this did not happen.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what else was I lied to about?
The best you could hope for would be, again, a local event where it was miraculous that a family survived with their animals on a boat.
Right.
And again, that would be, and it would feel miraculous to you, especially if a bunch of your neighbors didn't make it and you did, right? But that's the best you can hope for. You can't get global, and you surely can't get more than, your few vitals, like your cow and a couple chickens on board a boat.
Right.
That's about it. Yeah.
So as far as how anybody, if somebody knows, because they know, right? The writer knows they're making up bullshit. They're copying and adapting stuff from other legends, from other myths. And they recognize those as myths, right? Because if they thought those stories from other religious cultures were really what happened, then they would write it accordingly, because they wouldn't want to offend the gods that really did the thing.
Right.
The very fact that they're willing to adapt it and change it for their own religion means they damn well knew it wasn't real, that it wasn't true. And so what they're thinking is, someone's going to realize this. Somebody's going to hear about this, read about this, and call me on my bullshit. And so they wrote down, someday somebody will call me on my bullshit. And that's how you know I'm not bullshitting. Like, come on.
And when you're writing it as a myth or something, they'll say, well, you're not saying they're lying, are you? And it's like, not if you're writing it as a myth, or if you're writing it as a moral story, a parable, and all these things. No.
Yeah, if it's meant to be taken as a moral tale, then that's all it is, right? If you read it literally, then it's disproven. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Aesop's fables is lying to me. Right? Did any of those things happen? No. That wasn't the reason they told the story. You're supposed to learn something from it.
He would fulfill just 8 of these. How did he fulfill hundreds of these prophecies? I just think, isn't that something that's worth looking into? I just want to hear your thoughts. Let me know below.
I think we really answered that. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, we did. We answered it. Yeah, I don't know if I want to keep engaging with DeFreak. It doesn't seem like DeFreak right now is engaging in good faith. So, but they didn't predict, like, nothing in the New Testament stories predicts what anybody will say 100 years later, right? Because the people that were creating the New Testament stories thought that the world was about to end. They didn't worry about it, right? Whoever originated the stories, the oral versions of the stories, didn't write anything down. The people who knew Jesus didn't write anything down. Jesus didn't know how to write, so we gotta let him off the hook for that shit. But they didn't write anything because most of them were illiterate, and the ones that knew how to write, they thought the world was going to end. There's no reason to write anything down, right? And so, when somebody eventually wrote down versions of the stories that they heard generations later, they were just writing down the rumors that they heard. That's it. And even then, the people that wrote that stuff down, they too thought that the world was about to end in their lifetime. It was going to happen any day now, right? And they were just creating a record for whoever might, want to read from this as part of their cult, right? That's it. And so they were not making predictions about what anybody would say 100 years later, or 1,000 or 2,000, because they didn't think we'd exist. They were sure the world was about to end. Our world.
He is happy with himself, isn't he, Speedy? He got you. Look at this big number on here.
Look at that smug mug. Yeah, absolutely. Such a smug mug.
Yeah, well, DeFreak does make a point. It's the same God. And it's like, yeah, so that's the whole problem, right? They all borrow from each other, and they all have to go back to Moses' 5 books, and there, right there, you've got all kind of problems with reality.
Yeah, I don't get what his point is about the Quran. I don't get it, but it doesn't matter, right? The stuff in the New Testament stories, they weren't all written down before 70 AD. That's not true. That's not even close to true.
And it doesn't really matter because, again, this was on Capturing Christianity the other day, and they were trying to argue about the resurrection and why the people would write these stories if it wasn't true, and I don't know, they're trying to justify it and everything somehow, and it's the same as trying to justify getting all the animals on the Magic Zoo boat. It's fiction. How do you explain the resurrection story? It's fiction.
Right.
Well, there was witnesses to it. No, there was witnesses in a fictional story, right?
Right. Fictional witnesses.
Yeah, it's fiction. That I don't have to explain it. And they're trying to say that, atheists can't explain it. And it's like, I don't have to explain a fictional story. It's same with Noah's Ark, They sit around. Somebody was kidding about them in a video once about these grown adults are sitting around with their blueprints and their slide rules and everything, trying to figure out how to put all the animals on the Magic Zoo boat, right? And it becomes ridiculous. And it's like, well, disprove it. And I'm like, I have to disprove it. It's just ridiculous that you're sitting around even trying to figure this out. It's fiction.
Right.
And once again, I'll say there's a reason a flood story was told. And there's a reason, good reasons flood stories are told. And I will point out there are believers every year that are sitting on their rooftop waving at a helicopter to come save them because they didn't pay attention to the warnings the storm was coming. So they're no better than anybody else about learning the lessons from this, okay? But if you take it that, of course, flood stories are told, and for good reasons, of course, you're going to have flood stories in cultures and religions. Yes, because it's part of their life. That's something they dealt with all the time.
Right.
And when you didn't understand it, you attributed it to supernatural causes, which is understandable thousands of years ago. Not today, unless you're Bill O'Reilly and you don't understand how the tide goes in and out.
Yeah. Right. And to freak, the answer is the same as the book of Daniel, right? Written after the events, but written from a narrative perspective of being before the events, so that readers reading later would think, wow, you predicted shit and it came true. And the answer is no, they wrote it afterwards, but they wrote it from a narrative perspective about being before. It's the reason why they have Jesus predicting the destruction of the temple, but they wrote about that shit after the destruction of the temple. But it's not impressive to say, oh, by the way, the temple was destroyed. But it is impressive to a reader to read about a character saying it's gonna be destroyed when the reader is lied to about when the story was written, right? It's not a prophecy, it's not a prediction, it's a record of what happened, written from the narrative perspective of a character predicting it. But it's written after it happened, right? This is why they don't say the temple was destroyed. Instead, they write it's gonna be destroyed. But they write it after it's already been destroyed, because simple-minded readers, I don't know, like you, will think, wow, it must be a prophecy. Fuck me.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap things up here. So let's look at one more and we'll call it a night. I appreciate everybody that's been joining us here.
Retconned, yep.
I see so many folks coming through, and yeah, there was a lot of chats going on. DeFreak, welcome to join in the conversation.
Sure.
Seems like everything's going all right, so it's all good.
Yeah.
We had Kian stopping in too, and I just want to check real quick one more time to see who's here.
Right. The left-handed Jedi is correct. The Exodus didn't happen.
Yeah, no evidence of that. I've got some videos about that too. We'll get to one of those, I'm sure, in one of these episodes, because I've got some shorts on that too. And yeah, just you keep dropping that you can prove God. And I've seen this similar thing. It's almost like a bot that shows up in people's chats. So, has anybody ever heard of this Catholic traditionalist? Let me know. I'm a little bit suspect.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll look around and see if I can find anything on them, but they don't have any content on their channel. I already checked on that. So.
Yeah.
Usually if somebody's got that much to say about it and they're willing to go on a stream, then they've already got content on their channel. It's weird that he doesn't.
Let's see. I think I saw.
Yeah, it could be a tangible.
I think I covered everybody. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be that's what I'm worried about. It's one of the socks. And hey, if you've got a question, you can drop a question. You don't have to come on and spend a lot of time throwing a lot of stuff at me that I really don't want to hear, that I've already heard a million times before. If you've been paying any attention, James and Scott and I, we can rattle through these videos pretty quick because it's nothing we haven't heard before. And honestly, if you can't condense something down to catch our attention, one of these long drawn out things or a precept or just telling us we're fools because we don't see invisible things. Already heard it and they're done that. Appreciate it though. I do. But yeah, if you don't have anything like that, then it just doesn't fit in. It just doesn't, because I say we've heard it before. We've got gray hair here, so I mean, we're gonna pull the age card. All right, we're gonna pull the age card.
All right, we are the elders of this tribe. That's
right. So you young whippersnappers, you got to give us some due respect and all that kind of good stuff. I never thought I'd live to say that. I was a generation of the Who with a hope I'd die before I get old, talking about my generation. Yeah. And now we're here. I just scrolling through chat real quick here.
Zero Book, I don't remember the last time I heard a new argument.
No, I've heard some new spins on it that are pretty interesting and humorous, but they are basically the same old ones. And I want to thank people for the super chats and the memberships and everything. It's much appreciated. Thank you very much. And for the new members, welcome. And again, feel free to drop those emojis all over the chat. Spamming emojis is welcome here. So feel free to do that at will. Which one's Will? And let's see. So let's do this one here for a topper, because this guy here is probably one of the king of the dum-dums on YouTube. Matt Powell. I got a Matt Powell. Are y'all ready?
Yeah. Atheism is truly based in mysticism. Think about it. If the world created itself, that is by definition a magic act. It is not scientific in any way to assert that matter and energy could create itself, that it could pop into existence on its own. An outside force had to create time, space, and matter. Either one of two things happened. Either God created this world, or everything created itself from magic. Either time, space, and nature poofed into existence from a mystical act of randomness, or it was designed.
Oh, okay. There's so much wrong with that.
So much.
We'll try it one more time and I'll pick it apart, Matt. You're not worth it, but just because you're the king of the dum-dums, I'm gonna do it anyways. So here we go.
It's truly based in mysticism.
All right, no, it's not. An atheist doesn't believe in God, which is based in mysticism.
Think about it. If
I'm not gonna think about it too hard, Matt, because you're a dum-dum.
If the world created itself, that is by definition a magic.
The world didn't create itself. It's a process that's pretty much understood. I said earlier, but I will repeat it for you, dum-dum. It's pretty much understood how gravity forms stars and planets form around them. Okay, there you go. That's how our world got to be here. It's not magic.
Act. It is not scientific in any way.
It is.
To assert that matter and energy could create itself.
First law of thermodynamics. Matter energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be altered its form. Even if we use up all the usable energy, there is still energy. So it can only be changed. It cannot be created or destroyed. So I don't know what you're talking about, and I know you don't know what you're talking about.
That it can pop into existence on its own, an outside force.
It's in quantum physics, which I'm not even going to pretend to fully understand or somewhat understand, whatever, okay? From my understanding of what I've heard, though, These things do pop in and out of existence. They fluctuate in and out of existence. So on a quantum level, yes, they pop into existence. It's really weird, and it's very hard to understand, but my understanding is that they go in and out of existence, like phasing in and out 180 degrees. And so, yeah, it actually happens, Matt.
Had to create time, space, and matter. Either one of two things happened.
Once again, it wasn't created, and time and space is measured by since the Big Bang. And before that, there wasn't really time or space because there wasn't any space and nothing was really happening to pass time except your God, which is supposed to be outside of time. Yet how did it do anything like creation if time hadn't passed?
Either God created this world or everything created itself.
Well, no, there's a lot of other options. Bigfoot might have created the world. There could be a fundamental force of nature that we don't understand that created the world. There could be any one of other beliefs and religions with creation myths that created the world. There's a lot of possibilities, Matt. You're just wrong. You're always wrong. You're a big dum-dum.
From magic. Either time, space, and nature poofed into existence from a mystical act of...
A mystical act poofed in time, space, and matter. Now, I already explained that, Matt. You don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Randomness. Or
no randomness.
It was designed.
And Christianity.
Yeah. What a bunch of nonsense.
Atheism,
you know what?
Is
I'm just
true.
gonna put this right here. There we go. That's a good look for him.
Yeah. I mean, you're more charitable than I would be about it, because I think he knows the corrections that you're offering now. I think he knows them, and he's pandering to his stupid audience to say things that they stupidly will accept. Right? He knows what the real answers are. He knows he's strawmanning atheism, but he's counting on that his followers won't know that.
Stop the Stupidity says we need a Bigfoot Bible. I have played around with Chat GPT before, and I had it replacing God with Bigfoot for Bible verses. It was a lot of fun. I was discussing just the other day that if you can replace just about anything into a God did it scenario, and it sounds ridiculous to you, then you might understand how it sounds ridiculous to me. So when we clown around with Bigfoot did it, or Deconverted Man says the lobster did it, or is it the skeptic that has the giraffe, and Ember has her, is it a moth or something? I'm sorry, Ember. Something like that. There's Mark Reed. Hello, Mark. Mark, what's Ember's creating thing? Is it a butterfly or something? Yeah, everybody, we can all presuppose, the magic teapot, the flying spaghetti monster.
My favorite one is still SpongeBob, the Eternal Home Monitor.
There you go. Nil, thank you, Mark Reed. Nil, the non-creator of creator gods. Thank you very much. That's Embers. Yeah, it's very easy to do, Matt. A lot of us have done it, and we do it, and it's to mock your poor argument. So, and not to mention, you're an awful person, and he was trying to move into Dino Land for a while there. Wanted to maybe take over the operation or something, and he moved his whole family in there and everything. And Only thing I can think is that his spouse has more brains than he does, and said, "We ain't staying here."
Yeah.
And that didn't last long, and he's back in Michigan again. So, I have to give some credit to her, because I think we know who the brains is in that family.
Yeah.
So for those who follow the Hovind thing down there, that didn't last long. He was there a couple months, and it seemed like he was going to be the new partner at Dino Land, and then just packed up and left and didn't really say anything, and it was just okay. And they just moved on, didn't mention it much. And so I have a feeling I know why, because there's a lot of guys there, and a lot of them have rough pasts and questionable pasts. And it's not really a family-friendly environment, in my opinion.
No.
And so I didn't think the family liked being there at all, and for good reason. And I'm glad you got your family out of there, Mrs. Powell, because I don't think Matt would be smart enough to do so.
Right.
And with that, James, thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
I kept you up late, but if you're up anyways, because sometimes you say you can't sleep,
Yeah.
Might as well join with me, and we'll have a few laughs with some of these videos here. I think I'll do it on Wednesdays, because Tuesdays it seemed like there was a bunch of people on, and I know Mark Reed's on often in the evening too. Not trying to step on Mark or anything, but Mark's on in the evenings a lot. So we can share a little bit of it around the world, and at the same time, Mark and I are taking on these bad arguments. So
yeah,
it's always good to see Mark. Mark's got a great channel, obviously. Most of us all know who Mark Reed is.
yeah.
Great debater, smart guy, and always good to talk with Mark, and good to see him stopping by. And we had Mr. Scott Duke with us here earlier. He's going to get up earlier. He's a grandpa, and he spends times with the grandkids and everything, and it's all good. We don't always get to see Scott because he's babysitting, but, they grow up fast, right? So enjoy it while it lasts, Scott. Doesn't last long. And, we can have you on another time. Make sure you're building those memories with the grandkids. That's precious times right there. And James, what do you got going on? You been blogging? What you doing?
I haven't been doing too much lately. Got some health stuff going on, and I really haven't been focused well enough to blog or stream or anything else. I've just been bouncing around, watching you fine, intelligent people have fine, intelligent conversations, and just trying to be supportive and hang out with you when I get a chance to.
It's always good to hang out with you. Always a pleasure. Thanks. And hello, Wes. Good to see you. Yeah, like I said before, we still got like 20 people hanging out with us. So, there's a bunch of folks who seem to be hanging out with us in the evenings. So I'm going to hang out with y'all in the evenings, and, and Mark as well. Hang out with Mark, split it up a little, say hey to Mark, stop by, say hi to me, drop some emojis, spread it around. It's all good, right? Saturday night at the Atheist, of course, we gather every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes James is there with us too. And I did have this one to cover, but I might have changed my mind. I'm debating. I've got this other apologist or whatever you want to call him too. So I'm gonna think about it, and I'll decide tomorrow which ones. Either way, I could probably do the one next week. So either way, Saturday night, the Atheist, we have a panel of atheists, and we try to look at really poor apologetics and or people's own spin that is from a smaller channel. So you may have heard the arguments before, but it's not from one of the big name people. We've done channels that have had less than 100 subscribers, and we help them out too. It helps, they get a view, and some of us subscribe to help them out, and it's all good, right? And try to find some different perspectives, as well as some channels like Wayne manifesting in toasters and some of the more far out stuff like that. You're not going to find in-depth scientific breakdowns, so to speak, or whatever, because a lot of these are for fun, for just relaxing and the group hanging out, and we chit chat about things, and we just try to show people that we're just a bunch of people that don't believe in God, having a few laughs, hanging out with each other. We try to keep everything civil. We haven't had very many problems on the channel, which I appreciate very much. We've had people come through that are believers, and we've had some discussions. We even had one on, hoping maybe to have some more on. We gave them some time to present their argument and everything, and we tried to be fair and everything, and we we try to name people that we've reviewing, and we've also had engagement with some of them. We've tried to get them to come on. They won't come on, but some of them have showed up in the chat actually and dropped a few comments. So, maybe we'll actually get another content creator on sometime at Saturday night at the Atheist. I think it'd be really interesting. So we'll see how it goes, but that's where we are every Saturday. James, I know, usually goes on when I'm out back in the backyard gardening.
Yeah.
His camera goes off, and I'm gonna gonna go live. That's an inside joke between me and James. We have a little fun with it. But James does pop on when you least expect it. So watch for James. Make sure you're subscribed over at James Apperson. Hit it with a bell, because you don't know when he's going to be on. And that way you'll be notified when he comes on. Okay?
Yeah.
And with that, I'm going to play my outro. And I want to say good evening or good morning or good day to you, wherever you are. It's evening here, and that's why I call it the Night Watch. But wherever you are, I hope you have a good one. And I will see you, if not before then, on Saturday.
Good night.
Under the moon where shadows play, the channel lights the calm relay. Stories unfold in the softest sound. In the night watch, we're tightly bound. A cozy vibe whispers through the stream, like drifting slow inside a dream. Conversations linger late and free. The night watch is the place to be. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home. A laugh, a thought, a quiet tale. The night breathes slow, we set our sail. Through every chat and every laugh we weave a stream, a timeless path. Stay while the stars are bright, each word a spark that paints the night. Connection deep, it soars and sings. In this space the heart takes wings. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home. Hang out here beneath the glow, where time moves gently, hearts all flow. Secrets shared in a soothing tone. The night watch feels like home.